Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Scratching Post and other assorted locations, where we scratch that gaming itch. But tonight we're not scratching the gaming itch, we're actually taking part in a discussion. As you might notice, the title tonight is rather unusual, because I'm not alone tonight. I have three other individuals with me on tonight's show, with our first ever debut episode of our own kind of podcast, The Common Dense. And so yeah, I'm just going to go around the table and introduce everyone. So of course, going around from the bottom, there's myself, Eback, here, the main host of the channel. And then of course there's Bear, followed by Lemming Russ.
Hello.
And Shadow.
Good evening.
Yes, who's joining us from the ether, as it were. No, it's perfectly fine. There's no obligation to kind of have in fact, there's even questioning whether I would get my camera working for the tonight's show. But here we are, here at the Common Dense, and
pressure.
How this all came about? Well, really, this came about because we kind of run Shadow Squadron along with a friend of ours, David, and a few other people who come in every now and then, like Raptor and such. And after every show, some of us would kind of just sit talking for a while about various subjects, and we kind of think, we should do a podcast.
A while.
Yeah.
When
I'm saying we'll talk for a while, we're not talking like, oh yeah, we sit for 10 minutes. We've spent 2 hours just shooting the shit after the show, and yes, there will be foul language throughout the show.
If we were tired, we would spend 2 hours. If we were up for it, it would have been more.
Yeah, we probably would have. We could probably keep on going for an age. So we just decided, let's actually just do it. Let's do a podcast. And so here we are.
Because it usually ends with one of us going, guys, I really need to go to bed.
Usually me.
Yeah, usually you. So not that that's anything bad, of course. Everyone's got their
not
lives.
deep of voice either.
Sometimes they've not gotten to the point of getting me to pass out on the keyboard yet. But
Not yet. We're working on that. So, and people may think, what is the theme of the podcast? Well, most of us are gamers, so we're going to be talking a lot about gaming news from our own perspectives. Not just news, but also just gaming topics in general. And just talking about our lives and generally whatever kind of tickles our fancy. So we might get onto, aeronautical subjects with Lemming. Who knows what might happen. Some of us might be very quiet throughout some discussion because we can't really weigh in. For example, when Shadow goes all medical on us, I don't think any of us know really what to say or do.
No, we can just look smart and nod our heads.
We can,
yes.
Yes,
All of the blood removed from body. Yes.
Yes.
I'd like that.
So I think for our kind of first episode, we kind of want to talk a bit about ourselves a little bit and about our gaming and kind of introduce ourselves, because there'll be some people who's watching on various people's channels who don't know us each. So I think it's worth, going through the ringer. So first of all, my name's Eback, also known as Elliot. I don't mind being called by my first name. And yeah, I've been a gamer pretty much most of my life. It is the single hobby that does define me, not just video games, but also board games, especially in the more recent last 10 years of my life. So yeah, that's pretty much my general history, although I have more specifics in terms of I started on the Sega Mega Drive and have gone all the way through, been a PlayStation man all the way through, from the PlayStation to the 2, the 3, the 4, and hopefully the 5, once I can finally buy one. That's another news topic I'll hope to get on at some point today.
I thought that might happen.
Yeah. And also probably one of the 2 people in the world that owned a PlayStation Vita.
I wanted one.
Yeah, and also a PlayStation Portable as well. Bear, since you're next upon the line.
Hey, hello. As you can see from my handle, or can you? I am Bear. I won't bother you with my real name because it's unpronounceable, basically, since I'm from Poland. And my story of gaming is quite a strange one because, first of all, I started my gaming in a country that does not exist anymore, which is the People's Republic of Poland, the communist country, back when the Iron Curtain was up in the late 80s. and I was playing on stuff that was already obsolete in the Western Europe, which is the 8-bit microcomputer Atari.
Wow, old
Not
school.
Yeah, very old school. I mean, back then, like in 88, 89, for us, that was quite a new thing, mostly because Ronald Reagan's embargo was lifted on Poland, and suddenly we could bring computers from like early 80s to us to see what it is to play some games, to teach ourselves programming. They were 10 years obsolete, but well, that was the only modern technology we had.
I mean, isn't that kind of what people talk about in terms of Tetris? That was the big export. That was smuggled from behind the Iron Curtain.
Yes, that's right. That was like, I mean, first of all, Tetris was built also on some machines that were smuggled to Soviet Union in the first place.
Yeah.
Because a lot of machines like ZX Spectrums or Commodores or Amstrads, they had to be smuggled because you couldn't legally buy it locally.
Mm.
Also, you couldn't really legally buy games. So until like the 21st century, most of our games had to be pirates, because otherwise I wouldn't have any. Like I was having this 8-bit computer until like 95, when my family finally was able to buy an actual computer, a PC. I've never had any consoles until I was being able to buy them myself.
Wow.
Because
That's
we,
interesting.
well, first
Nice.
of all, for a long time, there were no consoles legally distributed to Poland.
Yeah.
And you had to like have a rich family that could bring you a console from UK or from America or from any other place that you could buy consoles.
Mm.
The only one that I've seen was a family clone that my distant cousins had. Those were possible to get. There was some Taiwanese ripoffs of NES. Nowadays, the so-called family clones, there's a lot of them. Wasn't that much back then. That was the only console I've seen until I bought a PS3 for my own. So basically, in the 90s, I had a PC, and I was playing all the early 90s games like Doom and Dune and Warcraft 1 and 2 and X-Wing TIE Fighter, that kind of stuff.
Oh.
I really loved them. But then I had a pretty long, I had like 7, 8 year long hiatus from gaming, because the finishing high school and the times of university were really hard on me. I was really stressed out. Suffice to say, at the age of 20, because of that stress and bad diet, I lost all my hair. So just like Patrick Stewart, minus the talent.
Ooh.
Oof.
But yeah, I was not having any time to play games until like 2006, when I bought myself a PS3. So I was very hyped on it. And
So,
I've played quite a few on that.
so your introduction console-wise was the PlayStation 3, correct?
Yeah, PlayStation 3 was my first console. So, and I also bought this oldest, fattest version that had the most backwards compatibility. So I was able to play PlayStation 1 games, PlayStation 2 games, and PlayStation 3 games on this one console.
I loved that old fat PlayStation 3. I still remember I was
Yeah.
the first person in my city to get a PlayStation 3, and I remember that because somewhere I still got the ticket stub that says number 1 on there, which says I was the first one to get
Nice.
served in
Holy
game.
shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And of course it was the original fat one, which of course had all the backward compatibility, which has become such an afterthought
Yeah.
these days, which
Oh,
hopefully
gosh.
we'll get into that, because that's a
Yeah,
subject
they
I
were
do
they
want to
were
tackle.
Yes.
they were loud as all hell, but
They were.
you could, yeah.
I also remember the day it died.
Oh.
I remember the day it died,
Whoa.
and I can always pretty much pinpoint the day when it died, because it was, oh god, I know that what killed it was Batman Arkham Asylum. It killed my PlayStation
Oh.
Fat. I managed to get the disc out there, and my dad is he's every customer service representative's worst nightmare. But it's
Oh.
great when you've got that power on your side, because you
Yes.
get such. Because I remember it was in 2009 when this happened, and it was it must have been August sometime, and my PlayStation died, and they called up game, and we were about a couple of months over the care package. Like my dad wasn't having it. And they said, well, we've got some refurbished PlayStation 3s we can offer you. And they're like, and he said, no, you're replacing the console. And he was somehow, I have no idea how he swung it. They said, okay, Mr. Baker, well, we don't have any brand new PlayStation original flat models in, but the new PlayStation Slim 3 Slim launches this Monday. We'll give you one of those. So I didn't get refurbished PlayStation Slim. It was a brand new in its box PlayStation 3 Slim, and they gave me a game with it as well.
Holy
Wow.
shit!
Yeah, that was amazing customer service, and I was. That's why I always buy my games from Game now, because they got good customer service. Sure, they probably hated talking to my dad, but I was always nice and polite to them. But yeah.
Yeah, everyone hates a customer that knows he's right.
Yeah.
So
Whereas on the flip side of it, I've got Game on a permanent boycott. But
Well, there you go.
yeah.
Probably
the complete other side of the coin.
My Fat Boy actually still works. So if I ever get my hands on a PS5, I would, with 2 consoles, I would be able to play games from all 5 generations of PlayStation.
I hate you. And with that, let's move on to Lemming and his gaming history.
My gaming history is quite lengthy, I'll say. Started off when my father got us a home PC running MS-DOS. That's how long I played such things as Lemmings. Down here. And the original Dune 2 by the legendary Westwood Studios, and Wolfenstein 3D, what came before Doom.
Yes.
And beyond that, my first console was the Sega Mega Drive.
Yes.
The 32-bit Sega console, and all of the Sonic games.
Complete with blast processing.
One thing you've got to say about the Sega line of everything, they went above and beyond when it came to sound quality.
Well, not just that. I just think when it comes to marketing, Sega just
marketing was
knew
obscene.
how to market a console.
It was brilliant.
Sega does what Nintendo don't. Blast all these power words like blast processing.
They did that beautifully 90s thing of actually having attitude.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Sega did it. The WWF back then, now WWE did it. There was attitude, and I liked that.
Yeah, I have a whole book about the whole sort of console war sort of thing. It's fascinating to read.
Yes, indeed. And obviously certain games like the Strike series. Are any of you aware of the Strike series, Desert Strike, Jungle Strike, Urban Strike?
Yeah, I remember.
All the way up to a game that was not named a Strike game on the PlayStation.
Named something else.
Future Cop, LAPD.
Oh, yes.
Which was originally going to be called Future Strike.
Yes.
But they changed it because for reasons. But yeah, I then got a PlayStation. And this was as the PlayStation 2 was coming out.
Yeah.
I was always a generation behind on consoles. Not Master System. Oh crap, I hit him. Okay. What was the Sega CD console? I hate when my brain.
The Sega CD.
Saturn.
Oh, the Saturn, yes.
The Saturn.
Oh, yeah.
Saturn came out. I got my Mega Drive. PlayStation came out. I sat on the Mega Drive. PlayStation 2 came out. Got my PlayStation. PlayStation 3 came out. Got my PS2. And then a friend of mine gave me his Xbox. Because he got an Xbox 360.
I was hoping when the Xbox would come to things, because I was thinking, well, we're kind of PlayStation focused really here with myself and Burr. Then of course you bring out the Xbox, and it's fine. Not that I have a problem with that. It's just that,
No, don't worry.
Don't worry. We're all gamers. Everyone here is a gamer. It doesn't matter what console you primarily game on. I have an Xbox One and a PS4 right there.
Give the man a cookie.
Doesn't matter what consoles are on. They've got games I want to play. I'm still waiting.
I was on the basis of someone says, "What are you, an Xbox or a PlayStation person?" I was like, "Depends what their exclusives are. I'll buy one."
I'm a games person.
Yeah, I'll get whatever has the most games that appeals to me.
Yeah, exactly. It's a case of if somebody asks me if I'm console or what console I'm into, I'll say PC.
Now I'm even more.
Because my Steam library has over 880 games on it.
Nice.
So you're giving the Mark Hamill vibes, like, the Henry Cavill vibes when he said with this indignation in his voice, "Are you an Xbox or PlayStation?" I'm PC.
PC. Easy. I mean, I'll have the consoles because there's games I can only play on those consoles. I'm still waiting for a friend of mine to loan me his PSVR so I can play the Ace Combat 7 VR missions.
All the way over here.
Yeah, that thing right there. So I want that to give that a try. I bought the game specifically on PlayStation so I could try the PSVR. Don't have a PSVR yet, but that'll happen eventually. But I then left high school, senior school in the UK, and bought myself an Xbox 360, got up to date, and I've pretty much kept up to date since then. Obviously, I've got a gaming PC now as well. Gaming is in my blood, as well as most nerdy things, as you can see behind me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very nerdy. Focus.
So that's my resume. So we'll move quickly on to Shadow.
Yes.
Okay, I think I'm going to be quite the odd duck amongst these fine gentlemen. I'm just going to say 10 days after the first Doom was released, a tiny Shadow was brought into the world and was almost rejected by her mother because she thought she'd birthed a boy. And then she was looking at me and was like, "Oh yeah, actually that's mine." So I don't remember what my first proper game was. I had a whole different swath of games. I remember playing. Remember, I was quite small. I was born in '93. I played sort of Age of Empires.
Small Shadow.
Small Shadow. I played Age of Empires, Dungeon Keeper, Doom, Quake, and then there was this little Lego game that's not often known, but called Lego Loco.
Lego Loco.
Yeah, it was just basically like a train set game, but I so badly want that redone.
Oh, I remember it well. I remember Lego. That's the thing. Everyone, when you think Lego games, they think, "Oh yeah, the Lego Star Wars kind of style games." No. There was a generation of Lego games way before them, like
Lego Chess, man.
Lego Chess, Lego Rock Raiders, Lego Racers.
That's so good. But I remember my first ever console, like a proper console. My memory is very fuzzy, so forgive me if I don't remember details. But I remember we were on the plane to Malta, me and my family, and my dad gives me a Game Boy Advance with Pokemon Gold in it, and he says, "This is for you to keep you quiet on the fucking plane." But that was the sort of first time this was my first ever console, and it was a handheld one. And it had Pokemon Gold, and it also had, I think it was The Lion King, Simba's Mightiest Adventure.
Yes.
For the Game Boy Color. But that was like my first set of games. And so I started off on the Game Boy Advance and moved on to the GameCube a little later. The GameCube's such a fantastic fucking console. And
I'll completely agree.
It's underrated. The little purple box is underrated, but it was great. And I played a whole kind of all sorts. I play the Mario games, Yoshi's Island. I still have my GBA somewhere. It's very old and battered now, but it's around, like Pokemon games, and then all sorts of random shit like Sonic Advance, Golden Sun. I love that RPG. I will go to bat for that. And like this random game called Sheep. Yes, and
which one?
All of them. I actually had a Star Wars game. I had the Attack of the Clones movie release.
Ooh.
That was a weird ass fucking game.
I was about thinking, oh, that's not a good one.
It's not good, no. But gents, I have something very, very bad to confess.
Oh god.
Oh no.
I was one of those Nintendo fans.
Define one of those.
I was the Nintendo fan who could not hear a single negative thing against the Nintendo Wii. I would fight and argue, and I was a shit teenager, and that made me even worse.
Ooh.
I mean, people could tell me such truths like, no, the 360 is just objectively better, like objectively more powerful and stuff like that, and I wouldn't hear a thing. I would get so fucking mad.
I mean, to be fair, the only negative thing I'll say about the Wii, you know,
Motion
if
control.
if you compare it to the other consoles, it was underpowered and stuff, but Nintendo has never concentrated on trying to keep up with the competitors.
No.
It's always done its own thing, so the power doesn't come into play.
Yeah.
They were always
don't come into
promoting.
play.
Yeah, they were always promoting fun in the first place,
Yeah.
and Wii has that aplenty.
Yeah.
Exactly. The motion controls were a bit weird, but they were generally built to suit the game they were in.
Yes.
Like the Wii Sports Bowling that everybody played.
Yeah.
Like literally, my parents and family never looked at games consoles, but they bought a Wii because we can do sports stuff with it. Cool. So we had a Wii in the front room for like 3 years. That was great. The only problem I've got is they badly marketed the Wii U.
Yes. Well, I didn't get a Wii U. I'll explain.
Not many people did.
I'll explain a little later. Well, the thing about the Wii was I was a diehard Nintendo fan and also a diehard Sonic fan at this time. With all the cringiness that it implies. Well, I was a diehard Sonic fan until the Secret Rings and Sonic Unleashed fucking broke me as people. Like I told Weird when he was streaming Sonic and the Secret Rings, I never got past the tutorial.
Oof.
I got stuck, and I was just like, you know what? I've had enough. I've had enough. But
our love is over, Sonic.
Well, it took a little longer than that, but
Weird in the chat. He just said Twitches.
Well, at the same time I had the Wii, I had I had the Nintendo DS, which is a beautiful fucking console. I'm so sad it is gone now. But I had one of the first Nintendo DSs. I had the clamshell, the big fucking clamshell ones.
Wow, when it really was a clamshell.
Yeah, it was a clamshell, and if you threw it at somebody, it would hurt them. I think it fell down the stairs at one point, and it put a dent. It put a dent in the side.
The stairs broke.
You have got to hand it to Nintendo. No one makes a product that will not break on you like Nintendo does.
That is the best fucking thing about Nintendo. It's just like it is designed to be dropped and bounce and just survive.
That's the thing. Yeah. I always very careful with my 3DS when I had it. I started at the end of its life, started to realize, throw it in my bag. You know, it's designed to protect itself.
They must have hired the old Nokia engineer.
Look one corner of my 3DS.
It's
exactly. Completely chipped, but it still runs.
Yeah, they got battered and broken, and I'm pretty sure on my Lite, like one of the shoulder buttons doesn't work anymore. But they fucking live. And after the Wii, I actually got an Xbox 360. I broke my streak. I became a casual gamer. I came out of becoming a hardcore Nintendo fan, probably for the best. At the same time, I was still playing PC games at this point. I've always played PC games throughout my entire life, since when I was a tot all the way up. Well, it helped when I got my own PC, but you know, it was built for me by my dad and stuff like that. And only
we officially forgive the hardcore Nintendo fan now.
Yes, it was a bad time.
And speaking as one current Sonic lifelong fan to a former Sonic lifelong fan, have you tried Sonic Mania?
I haven't.
You should.
My first Sonic game was Sonic Advance. If that helps.
If you're ready for a relapse of Sonic hardcore fanning, yeah, you should.
I did play they did port the original games onto the DS. I think it was either DS or the DS. So I
have that.
I have had a brief crash course in it, but
Sonic 2D Sonics.
Yes, but Sonic Advance was my first 2D Sonic game, and I mostly played Sonic Adventure 2, which is why you see I'm called Shadow Phoenix Rider.
That's where it comes from.
Yeah, I don't know why I stand Shadow, but I did, and here we are. And I got actually, to go back to the Xbox 360 for a moment, I got that because of Fable 2. if you can believe it. I actually got it for that. And Fable is an okay game. Fable 2 is an okay game. Fable 3 was fucking.
Yeah, Fable 3 we can do without mentioning.
We don't
Yeah.
talk about Fable 3.
We don't talk about
But
Fable 3.
put it this way, I've had my fill of Molyneux's shenanigans.
Oh god, I think everyone has.
Yeah.
Is there any more for your history? Like,
yes.
okay, cool. Carry on.
Yeah. I went from the 360 to the Nintendo 3DS, and this was about the time that I moved like completely onto the PC. Like, my only recent console has been the Switch, and that's only because it can be handheld. Because I have two great big monitors serving as my PC stuff. I literally do not have any other sort of connections I can do for the Switch, so it's important I could play it entirely in handhold mode. Although I do have an old monitor that my GameCube is connected to at the moment. I need to actually do some work with it, but there we go. But yeah, so most of my history at the moment is PC games, although was a Nintendo fan for a long period of time, but now I've kind of branched out and I'm self-admitted a casual gamer. I just drift around. It's just like, oh, if I like that game, I'll play that and I'll play this. There's no.
I don't think that's a definition of a casual game. I think it's just a gamer. A casual gamer is someone who doesn't game as much, but only games like on the
loo. Yeah.
Well, there's that, but I think it's a very natural thing that we do. I think I classify myself as a hardcore gamer because I game most of the time, but I wouldn't say that you're a casual gamer by your own definition. Not that I think there shouldn't really be a word for it more than anything else. I mean, one thing I forgot to mention is that I do have a computer and I've been gaming on my computer all my life. It's just that was my console history mostly. Yeah, and is there anything else we want to quickly cover, or Shadow? Is there anything else you need to cover at the end there, or anything, or is that everything?
Not really, unless you want me to get into any details. But if you
do,
we'll be here all day.
We'll go into some details, but first I want to catch up with the chat. We've got James in here who says that his first game he remembers playing is Taz Wanted. He was going to get a PlayStation until he played on Xbox. Didn't go back to PlayStation until Spider-Man came up on PS4. Weird's in the chat. Well, I know that Weird's had a long history with the Sega Mega Drive as well. Jenna's in the chat talking about her 3DS, how my screen was literally coming off, so I had a 3DS at some point. So yeah, there's some interesting discussions being had in the chat about things, including some love for Sonic Mania in there, which I will also extend the love to that game. It's a great game.
And I think Shadow will find a little gift the next time she opens Steam.
Oh God.
Oh no. Oh God, you guys are not doing this again, are we? Stop this!
My turn.
Because we're evil.
Looking back in history, I did remember one game that before any other games started with. Yep, there we go.
I can imagine Shadow just shaking her fist in the sky at this point.
Enjoy. But no, one game that crafted my gaming views on gaming and general being something to watch, let alone something to play. Battle chess on MS-DOS. Ever hear about it?
Yeah.
Not that I recall.
I
have.
If you open chess on the Windows version of chess, it's just chess. You got the pieces, you move them around. In battle chess, all the pieces got up, walked around, and when you took a piece, they actually fought each other.
Yeah,
that was the thing about Lego chess that I always missed.
Yeah. They had this very weird, very shiny 3D models from the very early 3D era. That was a bit weird to look at. That was an uncanny valley for me back at the time.
Yeah, it was. I remember being at awe at seeing the rooks walking. The rooks that are a tower. How are you going to get them to move around? They transform into these giant brick golems and walk around and just smash people on the heads. It was amazing, and it made me realize gaming is it's a spectacle.
Yes, it's
theater to enjoy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then, if I recall, you had this small picture of the figures duking it out when they were fighting.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's funny because that kind of transitions to what I was going to talk about, which is the first time I kind of realized gaming as a spectacle for me. Not just spectacle, but as an experience, as something which truly is transformative, and something which defined me as a very person. Star Wars Dark Forces 2 Jedi Knight. With its FMV cutscenes, it was the lost Star Wars movie. You know, you had this great 3D gameplay, which is very reminiscent of Doom, because of course the original Dark Forces was based upon Doom and Wolfenstein. And then of course it was in 3D. Then of course you had these FMV cutscenes with actual actors. That was before the prequels, but after the sequels, it was amazing to watch. And that is what kind of inspired me to go into game design and led me down the path, which ultimately results in me being here today. So I say that is the kind of the crux upon which my life sat at one point.
You gotta love those classic FMV cutscenes.
What about you, Bo? Is there?
Well,
Sorry, go on,
for me,
Shelly.
I mean,
No. I was just going to say that FMV was a little before my time.
Fair.
well, I've seen some FMVs in my time, but before that, the sort of game that really showed me how great of a spectacle, how great of a visual performance can be, was the arcade version of Mortal Kombat 1, a series for which I am a diehard fan to this day. And just like Shadow wasn't able to say anything wrong about or hear anything wrong about the Wii, I for a long time was and partially am still a diehard fan of Mortal Kombat series. The only bad thing I can talk about regarding Mortal Kombat is how bad and how money grabbing Warner Brothers is. But other than that, they can do no wrong. But,
No, I agree.
That's Warner Brothers.
That's Warner Brothers, yeah.
But regarding the whole Mortal Kombat experience, for me, when I was still like early 90s, we had this small arcade parlor in our city. I say parlor, but it was kind of an previously was a dark room for a photographer's studio, but there have been like 10 or 12 arcade cabinets put in there, well, all kinds of games on a rotation, like Samurai Showdown or King of Fighters or Final Fight, etc. So that there was always packed full of children. There were way more children than the machines, so everyone was gathering around each of the cabinets and watching people play. So that was my also first experience of streaming and being an audience of a stream.
Social gaming.
Yeah, that's a very interesting. I never thought about it like that. Mortal Kombat, and I mean that's the thing. Unfortunately, with I'd say for Shadow, Lemming, and I, kind of arcade culture kind of bypassed us, didn't it?
Yeah,
it's very much more.
By the time I was old enough to, Yeah,
because
I mean, I had plenty of experience with arcades in general.
I mean,
when I visited, my family would take me to a caravan park, and I'd be bored witless, so they'd give me a tenner, and I'd rush off to the little arcade at the caravan park and smash some spiders with a big hammer and get some points and walk out with a badge.
Yeah, but the thing is, you never had like a room full of kids with arcade cabinets going. No. Not like the American kind of culture, which you kind of see. No. There's nothing like that, which is sad because I'd love to have experienced that.
Definitely.
Yeah, that was a great experience, but it is very much like you have now, where the audience or all the people around you, behind you, they're talking among themselves, they're commenting what you're doing, they're talking about their things, and there you are trying to be optimal in your game. And well, mostly you're trying to be optimal because the microtransaction practices in the arcades were way more egregious than any Ubisoft or EA could ever imagine.
That's why they were so hard.
That's another reason why I never really went to arcades all that often. I never really had much money growing up.
Yeah, there's also that.
So the whole thing, I can either walk 2 miles to the seafront and go to the Dunes arcade in South Shields in the northeast. You all might know where that is, where there's a nice little arcade on the beach, and then I'll be there for like 20 minutes until all my money's gone, and then I'll be like, well, damn, bye. I had my 20 minutes on Time Crisis.
I didn't have enough.
Is that the one with the guns?
Yes.
Yeah.
God, that's always so much fun.
I didn't have enough money either. Well, if I spent all the money that I had as a teenager per month, it would lasted me like 50 credits for a whole month. And I wouldn't be able to spend it on anything else.
Yeah.
No cinema, no drinks, no anything. Just 50 credits per month, and that's all. But I was eager audience. I was spending 3 to 5 hours after school in there. My parents always knew that they can find me there, me and my brother. So we were in the evening, we were returning home, having like spent a long time watching people play, discussing with our friends,
Also,
who were pretty good at those, and they were getting bang for their buck because they were able to like put one coin and then go through the entire Final Fight or Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, which I recommend you see on any emulator because it's a great game.
Also, what an iconic game to talk about as well. Mortal Kombat. I mean, that is an influential game, perhaps even an infamous game because of
Yeah, it was arguably the first controversial game.
Well,
yeah.
Yes.
We have Peggy and SRB because of this game.
Pretty much, because that was the game when you had fatalities, ripping people's heads off, and there was a whole discussion about games being violent. Because even back then, I think developers realized that gaming was shifting more towards teenagers and adults more than it was actual children.
It was the first game to bring along the "won't anybody please think of the children" argument.
And even if it didn't have fatalities, it had a wonderful lifelike, but back then it was really lifelike, rotoscopic visuals where people were photographed. The only other game that this was done on was Prince of Persia, but it was rotoscoped and then pixelated so that it works on weaker machines. But for Mortal Kombat, it was just photorealistic imaging.
I remember the original Prince of Persia just realizing, oh wait, I have a limited time to do this in, and I'll just walk over. Oh, I've fallen to my death. Oh. Oops! Restart.
I was always terrified about that 60 minutes that you have, but actually, if you know what you're doing, you can beat this game in like 15 minutes.
Oh yeah, easy. But
yeah, it gives you enough time. Yeah.
That was a great title.
Any kind of games from your early days that you recall very fondly, Lemming?
Plenty of them. I mean, the main game of my childhood, other than the Sonic games on my Mega Drive when I got one, was Command & Conquer. Hands down, the original Command & Conquer. I'd been growing up on Dune 2, Westwood's first real-time strategy title, arguably one of the first proper, as we know it today, real-time strategy titles. It was archaic by today's standards. You had to click on each unit individually, tell them to attack something and move them.
Yes.
But that's what I grew up on. And then my father got a computer with Windows 95 on it.
Ooh.
I was like, oh, cool. We can buy the Windows 95 edition of that new game, Command & Conquer. Yeah. I spent years of my life.
And it was running in VGA.
Oh, yeah. I spent so long trying to get through all those missions because some of those missions are legitimately unfair. And
a lot of those old RTSs were very unfair. Like StarCraft 1 was much harder than StarCraft 2.
Indeed, yeah.
The Command & Conquer was pretty hard. Also,
I mean, I remember like it was yesterday. In fact, I went through it more recently with the Command & Conquer remaster. Brilliant game, 100% recommended. And it reminded me one of the last levels, because you got to pick. There was paths. You could pick which level you could go through. Mm-hmm. So there was 3 choices for the last level for both of the two sides. And one of those choices for the GDI side, which was the good guys, the UN, good guys, was legitimately harder than the other 2 choices.
Oof.
Because you started your base, as you do with a real-time strategy. You start your base, you start building, and roughly 5 minutes into starting your base and getting your economy and going and everything, the enemy randomly pops its own base right next to you, fully built, with a big laser defense turret that will murder you.
That sounds slightly unfair.
And there was no
legitimately unfair.
And there was no internet back there, so you couldn't have known.
No, I couldn't have known.
Yeah,
I didn't have a clue. Not even the strategy guide that I bought with my own money, thick like this.
Oh yeah.
Strategy guide had any word of it in.
I remember strategy guides.
So it was all down to learning. And eventually I just went, okay, I'll build a quick couple of infantry units, move them to the exact positions where those buildings pop up, so they just don't.
Nice.
If you keep people there, they just don't turn up. And that's how I beat the game.
Yeah, you have to get good or get bored because you won't have a game to play.
Yeah, exactly. But that was pretty much the big game of my childhood. That and Age of Empires when my dad got
Oh
that
my
too.
god, yes, Age of Empires.
Age of Empires was so good. Just like everybody knows Wololo.
Wololo.
Yeah. Wololo. I turn you to my color. Doesn't matter what you are, you're now on my side. Thank you.
There's that.
Having a unit that legitimately stole enemy units.
Yeah, it was so fun, especially that tutorial mission where you are like, you start off as it's just like as a single priest, and you have to like build a civilization from that. It was just so funny, just converting villagers and then watching them just beat each other to death with bloody bones. It was so funny because the weapon would change depending on which age you were in. So they'd start off hitting each other with like great big bones, and then it was something else in the tool in the Bronze Age, and then they just graduated to forks in the Iron Age. I don't know why.
I think that was for like the Iron Age forks was for hay bales and such.
Yes, because more for the farming. Oh my god, that gameplay! Oh,
so good.
Yeah, I mean,
I hope you won't hate on me, but I liked Age of Empires, but I think I liked the history bits between missions even more than the actual gameplay.
Yeah, no, that was because originally I think Age of Empires was a marriage of the RTS genre and Civilization at the same time. I think they were trying to make it bigger than what it became, but I love it.
No, I love it too. I especially love the kind of it is based in history. You know, in many ways, it's a lot of the campaigns do follow historical events. You know, of course, glorified and.
Well, Age of Empires 2 kind of doesn't, but it's a different topic.
Yeah.
Because you win Stirling, but the Scots are not supposed to win Falkirk, but you end up winning Falkirk anyway because reasons.
Because I mean, it's got liberty taken with it, but it's nice to have a kind of a tenable link with history at least.
Yes.
But no, Karen.
I was going to say, there's some strange charm about the first game and the second game, which the third game lost for some reason, and I'm not quite sure why, or if it's just because because they are so ingrained into my childhood that the Age of Empires 3 just doesn't have that. I don't know, I
think it added too much.
Yeah, that fucking city mechanic was terrible. I hated it. The first sort of live service kind of thing. Well, it wasn't a live service. It was just you need to level up this city to get cards in order to get bonus.
Yeah, the progression system they added.
Yeah. You don't need a progression.
Because before that, you progressed by completing the missions you were given, and then you unlocked more stuff.
Yeah, you just got through the ages and you researched shit. It was down to your own skill. Whilst Age of Empires 3 was just like, nah, you just get a progression system, and sometimes you're just better. And it's just like, no, that's not.
That's not what people wanted.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not good at RTSs. I'll admit that right now. But
I mean, the only reason I was able to beat the AI on Command & Conquer when I was fighting it on my own was using the sandbag strategy. There is a strategy in the original Command & Conquer, which was fixed in later games, but left in on the remake because of how broken the AI actually is. Like, if you go against the hard AI, you legitimately will lose unless you're like an esports pro. But the AI doesn't see sandbags as an enemy object, so it won't shoot them.
Did you?
So you just build a line of sandbags to the enemy base and block them in.
gonna say.
I think it was the same in Dune with the walls.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah,
they didn't make the enemy shoot the sandbags, so you could just block them in and win.
Oh.
yeah. There used to be a mechanic in there. I don't know if it still is in the old RuneScape, where if you had a halberd, you could attack over like one square of objects. So what people would do was they would aggro like the boss or whatever they needed to do, and get them trapped on the other side of a rock or something that they could reach over, and then they could just hit them like
Just jab,
constantly.
jab, jab.
And the boss would just sit there and just be like, well, I guess this is how I die.
Like, don't mind me, end of game boss. I'm just going to poke you to death with a big stick.
I
Yeah,
guess
but the
I'll
thing is-
die.
Yeah, but the thing is, the halberds were a members only item. So if you were free to play at that time, well, fuck you.
So that was literally one of the first pay to win mechanics.
Well, it was in fairness, old RuneScape was incredibly fair in
Yeah.
what it gave you. Like nowadays, RuneScape can go fuck itself. But the old RuneScape, the RuneScape I grew up with, that I think it's classic now, but I remember like classic, like the very first, and
I've
that
not,
always
I've not really played RuneScape, so I really can't comment.
yeah. The thing about RuneScape, that was my first MMO, and it has a special place in my heart because it was one of the first sort of social-ish games that I got into, because we used to play it in primary school when we got access to the school computers. You know, when they were still a computer room, when that was a new thing.
Oh yeah, there was the computer room, yeah.
Yeah, and the boys would actually. This was before the Grand Exchange and stuff like that. See, they would make trade. We would be in the art room together as like a class, and people would just start making trades across the tables, like it's like or just showing off how much gold they had, kind of thing. And that's an enduring memory that I have. It was just these primary school kids just trading across tables, you know, and also getting ganked in the wildy. That was not fun.
Yeah.
Organic way of teaching people commerce.
Yeah, exactly. I actually learned quite a bit from RuneScape. Like I learned what K means in terms of money, in like numbers, like it's 1,000.
Oh yeah.
And also that you can make a what is it, bronze with copper and tin. And some other things as well. So, you know, who says games are not educational?
Yeah.
Indeed. Shall we move on to some news within the gaming sphere?
Yeah.
We can do.
All right, then
Let's-
let's tackle some
quite a
news
lot to go.
topics.
Yes.
So first of all, a game which I've been streaming lately has actually come released this week, but had a bit of a
Oh,
rocky,
here we go.
bit of a rocky launch. Hitman 3 launched this past, well, it was actually last Wednesday, and it had some issues, let's say. So those of you that don't know about Hitman, basically Hitman 1 and 2 has been launched by IO Interactive over the last few years, since 2016 for Hitman 1 and 2018 for Hitman 2. However, they have a unique feature in the fact that you could import levels from Hitman 1 into Hitman 2, and likewise you can import the levels, but also progression from Hitman 2 into Hitman 3. Game was released worldwide at 1 p.m. Universal Time, which I think is actually 1 p.m. GMT. That's when it unlocked for me on my PS4, and I couldn't play it for about 7 hours because unfortunately, the entirety of the world who wanted the game flocked to the progression website to import their saves into Hitman 3 and crashed their servers.
As could be expected from a worldwide launch.
And the server connectivity is one of the most important things that you have to have in Hitman games.
Yeah, here's the thing. It's basically an always online connection in a single player game. Did
we not learn from Diablo 3? Apparently not.
And it's only used for
SimCity.
Oh my god, don't remind me!
And it's only used for things that you can deal by a split-second connection with the server before the mission and after the mission, and that's all.
It's challenges, and in fact, it's the entire progression systems online. You can play the game offline. You just can't complete any challenges or anything, or unlock any new content. And it was worse in Hitman 1 because before, your unlocked content couldn't be accessed while you're offline. They patched that eventually. I think they've learned their lesson from that. But still, it's like, why are we having always online DRM games in single player games? They are not needed. It's a live service. Why can the system not say, okay, you completed challenges at the end of the mission, I'll upload your scores online. Oh, I failed to connect, I'll upload it next time.
Yeah, exactly.
And especially after so many games from so many different publishers have had the same problems over the years, at least the last 6 years.
Now,
they don't fucking learn.
They don't learn. And what annoys me so much is that it's a fantastic game from what I hear. The reviews are all stellar. In fact, a lot of people are citing that it's the best Hitman game ever made. And it had a completely balls up launch. It completely ruined the experience. First impressions do count. And that's what's so annoying.
They always do.
They always do. And that's the thing, the reviewers couldn't review this because, of course, they had no progression system and they're reviewing the game on its own merits, not with Hitman 1 and 2 included. So, of course, that was never accounted for in reviews. And I imagine that if I was a reviewer, I would have knocked a score off for that, if that was the case.
Oh, yeah.
But why was this website not operational a week up to? Now, from what I can tell, it's because apparently, one, the online system needs to tell that you actually own Hitman 3 before it can actually import from 2 to 3. Because the import's a one-time process.
Oh, yeah, it's a validation step.
But it's still a case of, why would you import it to 3 when you don't have 3?
Or why would you not do this ahead of time? Like preload?
And that. I mean, it's more a case of if they're worried that people are going to import it and they don't own Hitman 3, why are they worried about that? Why would someone logically think, I don't own Hitman 3, I should import my progress, which is actually a roundabout process. You can't do it from within Hitman 3. You have to go to a specific site, which Hitman 3 directs you to in order to do it. So...
Yeah, the process itself is way overcomplicated for what it's worth.
Oh, no, its worth is immense. I mean, once you import it, every progress that you've made in Hitman 2 is then carried over. So I'd have to redo a lot of the old challenges. I am already on mastery level on some of the Hitman 2 levels because I've already done that. And what's worse is I think, okay, well, sure, but the game works. You can just play the game.
Mm-hmm.
It overwrites your Hitman 3 progress.
Oof.
Yep. So,
wow.
So although they were saying, oh yeah, you can still play Hitman 3 when it comes out. You know, our servers will be done, but you can still play Hitman 3. You can still play the levels. But you lose all your progression. So there are a lot of people online who are saying, "Oh, but to call the game unplayable is overblowing it." No, it's not overblowing it. It might, from a technical standpoint, be playable, but it is practically unplayable. You know, it is practically unplayable because either I play and I lose my progress, which at that point, you know, at what point in gaming is it fun redoing something as knowing that you've already done it? I mean, sure, there's the fact that you get to play it again, and replayability is the game's main selling point, but there's still that psychological aspect of like, I've already done this. Why do I need to do it again? Why do I need to do it
doing it again?
Yeah. So whoever balls that up, I mean, why on earth it doesn't just import Hitman 3 stuff and just has to overwrite Hitman 3? I have no clue what they were smoking when they came up with this.
Let's look at an example of this idea done right. The original Mass Effect trilogy.
Yes.
You played Mass Effect 1. You got your you got your character to max level. You know, you got your Shepard to max level. You then imported that character to Mass Effect 2. It used the same file for the import.
Yeah, it just looked for that save file. It was like, is this okay? And then, you know.
Not only that,
was it.
It's such a simple, like, do you know how that all works in between the Mass Effect games? It's all flags. So literally,
it is all flags.
Yeah.
So much so that someone created a save editor where you could custom make a save based upon what choices made. It's so simple for Hitman for Mass Effect 1 to 2 and 2 to 3, and yet somehow they couldn't just think, okay, put flags in there to indicate different levels and things. And no, it's like so. Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, even it might have been a bit complicated to make flags for all the different, because I understand the Hitman games, specifically the more recent ones, are vast. There's so many things to do, so many like side objectives, different.
But the thing is,
markers to go through.
The way I would do it is say, okay, is this challenge completed? Yes or no? Simple as that. And then people will say, well, what about the progression system? Well, if the game detects that you've unlocked that, it should unlock the challenge in Hitman 3, therefore giving you the XP for that, which should raise your level to the
should happen automatically.
Exactly, yeah.
So, yeah, I think IO, very unfortunate, because again, it's a great game. I had some technical issues when I streamed it yesterday, but bar it was fine. It's not like a terrible problem at all. It's a great game. Really enjoying the World of Assassination series. I'm interested to see where Hitman 3 goes. I have been spoiled by the internet, which I'll that's something which I unfortunately get spoiled by. I don't know how that's still happening in 2021, but there we go. So that was Hitman's launch. Is there a gaming news topic that someone else wants to bring up? I do have a list here, but in case, if you guys want to take something on the list, that's entirely your choice, but it's up to you.
I mean, I was looking forward to trying a new game out today that I haven't played yet, but I spent most of today with a headache. So Disco Elysium will have to wait until Thursday. I
so want that. I'm going to get Disco Elysium. I actually checked it out. I am going to get Disco Elysium. It's 40% off on Steam. We're not sponsored by that, but I definitely want to pick that up when I can.
Yeah, it is currently on offer, 40% off if you're interested in what looks like a crazy RPG.
From what I can see, the PC version gets a free upgrade to the Definitive Edition, which is coming out soon. So,
fine then.
Disco Elysium is a wonderful game. It's really greatly done. However, I had a bit of a hard time playing it because I identified too much with a main protagonist, and basically the game got very quickly very depressive for me. And I played it because the story is great and the dialogues are masterful. And
but it got a little bit too real for you.
It got I started feeling exactly like that guy. I'm not gonna be doing any sort of spoilers onto what this character is, but
it's too close. Yeah,
it was hard sometimes to, like, especially that it's always accompanied by this kind of very melancholic music. So it's improving. It's making the mood even more intense in that terms.
Yeah,
I remember watching the Jim Impressions video on it, and he said that it's a very it's a game you can enjoy, like, totally, but the atmosphere is what sells it, and the atmosphere can be a bit heavy at times.
Yeah, it can overwhelm you, definitely. But other than that, the game looks beautiful. It sounds beautiful. I was, for a long time, I was wondering that the voice actors sound a bit like people just the devs doing also the voice acting. But on the other hand, after all the game, I was wondering whether this wasn't a deliberate artistic effect to have that.
Possibly. So, Ebak, moving on with actual gaming news, because that game isn't exactly news.
It's fine. No, we've always knew that we would get off topic in this. Now, and we always agreed that was never going to be an issue. Getting back to news, I've got some comments from the chat, which actually one we can segue from. Jenna says, it was fun seeing you play Hitman yesterday with Shadow, and hope your head clears, Lemming. So there you go. Big thanks from Jenna. Thank you for checking out Jenna. I hope I'll be streaming Hitman again this Friday, or maybe tomorrow. We'll see.
Oh God.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Anyway, and also James says, spoiler videos are the worst. A YouTube video spoiled the final boss of Jedi Fallen Order for me.
Oh God, yes. Yeah, that's happened to me before.
Yeah,
I have spoiled the final boss of a Jedi Order for myself as well, but not with videos. Well, this is kind of a big bugbear for me because I hate spoilers of any kind, even a game mechanics. Like, for example, if I'm told that suddenly in one game you get a car and you can drive around the place, it's already a bit of a spoiler for me.
I hate it when articles have like a don't have like a title
Mm.
that's spoilery, but their images are.
God.
And I'll say this, I'm not going to talk about the spoiler in details, but it was about The Mandalorian season 2, and the title is, "Oh, this character hinted at coming in the future season of the Mandalorian," and it showed a picture of the person, so that when you post the link in the article, which someone did post the link in Facebook, it showed a picture of that character. I'm like, really? I wonder who that fucking character is.
Yeah, those are horrible, and especially when like you try to not spoil in the name of the video, but in the thumbnail you absolutely spoil it. It would say like, "You'll never believe who appears in the most recent episode," and you can see on the thumbnail who appears in the most recent episode.
Thumbnails suck for that.
And do you know what really gets me on a very related topic is movie trailers that have major spoilers in the trailer.
Apparently, that's to do apparently with the general audience. Apparently, the general audience kind of like it when
that's the fault of the viewers.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Where technically we're the villains in there.
That's stupid.
I watched the Godzilla vs Kong trailer yesterday, and honestly, as much as I'm hyped for that movie, I'm regretting that I did.
Yeah.
Because I spotted a major spoiler.
Well, there you go.
I'm going to say what it is, but it's in the trailer. If you don't want to be spoiled, don't pay too much attention to the trailer.
Yeah, I basically stopped watching trailers for films, and
me too.
I tend to get a good feeling of when a trailer is going to show off too much, which is good. I kind of use that as my sixth sense these days.
The trailer spoilers are also the reason why I'm like, I was coming half an hour late to the movies.
Oh, I like watching the movie trailers, but that's just me. I kind of have. I like the whole experience.
Of the best parts of it's part of the experience to go see the trailers.
Yeah, but then I'm sitting and I'm seeing all the spoilers in the trailers, and I'm like, thank you. That's third or fourth film that I won't be going to because I already know the fucking plot.
Yeah.
So what's the point? But I wanted to go back to Jedi Fallen Order. But the way I spoiled it for me was, I was playing it as I play a lot of games with Polish VOs, because it's just great that games can be localized. And I wanted to find out who were the actors that were playing. Yeah. And I opened the Polish cast, and the second person was, this actor plays this character. Was, oh no, what have I done?
Yeah.
And also the introduction.
Episode 3. No.
Yeah, exactly. And the introduction of that character is so good. Masterfully done.
It's so good.
So good.
It's so good. Yeah.
I remember when I played it, I was like, "Oh fuck!"
Yeah, no, I didn't expect it either. I was just like, "Holy shit!"
And when you're spoiled, you're like at every mission, "Is this the last mission? When are they going to show up?"
Yeah, I was like, "Oh fuck! This is why why I never heard this character in the canon before." That segue. Sorry, Shadi, before I go on.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to say, I've had similar. Well, there've been similar experiences with the new WoW expansion release. There's I think some people might be familiar with the site Wowhead, which is a big database of all World of Warcraft stuff. But I've been under fire with the new release, because what they would do, because they post sort of stuff like data mined audio for new cinematics, and what they would do, and some of the titles would be really sort of random shit, like this character and this character talked, and everybody was like, could you just not put that in your title?
Yeah.
When really they should have just put stuff like, I don't know, I'll pick a title at random: new data mine cinematic featuring Anduin and Sylvanas. Spoilers. That's it. You don't need to say that, instead of, well, she does this thing with this thing, and he says a thing.
We don't need to know that.
The reason I kind of picked up James's comment is because of the big news that was for me this week, which is EA loses the exclusive Star Wars publishing rights.
Oh yeah. Finally.
That's
awesome.
Time.
About bloody time.
Yeah. I mean,
I might. Oh, sorry, Bear. You go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify that they're not losing it until 2023. The whole thing was a 10-year contract. It's just that now companies know that they can make their own games, so that's why the Lucas film,
Yeah,
games
it's going to be a
come
case
up,
of
and the
it's gonna be a case of
Ubisoft cooperation and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's been
I think-
to get ready.
what was you going to say, Shadow?
Well, I was just gonna say that I know this is this is a good thing, but I can't help but feel a deep sense of trepidation that okay, EA has lost the Star Wars license, and that's a good thing, but you know there are other companies, one of which begins with a U and ends with a soft, that also have problems and may also get the license, and there are, you know,
Which they have.
I can't help but just feel this deep sense of dread, and I hate it. I should feel really happy about it, but I can't help it because the video game industry is a piece of fucking shite.
So
From what I sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so Lucas Games is now an actual subsidiary of the company. Was it Lucas Games?
Yes,
Lucasfilm Games.
Lucasfilm Games.
Lucasfilm Games. That was it.
Yeah, that's a blast from the past.
Well, it's close. It's close to LucasArts. It's very close to LucasArts.
This is what LucasArts was before it was renamed to LucasArts.
Oh, really?
Back in the early 90s, the first Monkey Island and the second, I think, as well, was published as Lucasfilm Games, and only then they changed the names to LucasArts. So it harks back into even before. I think the X-Wing and the TIE Fighter was LucasArts, but X-Wing I think was Lucasfilm Games.
Yes, and along with that came the announcement that there is a Star Wars game being worked on by Ubisoft, supposedly a free roam game, and an Indiana Jones game being manufactured by Bethesda, of all people.
Machine Studios.
Sorry, Machine Studios, but published by Bethesda. But still, I mean, to be fair, if you're going to involve a game punching Nazis in the face, you give it to the guys who are good at shooting Nazis. So, you know.
Get the Wolfenstein guys in here so you can punch Hitler in the face.
Yes.
Yes. See, now you say that, I want a Captain America game where you can literally do that.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
I'd love that.
I mean, if worst comes to the worst, I'll just reload. I'll reinstall one of the Sniper Elite games.
Can you imagine them doing like an amazing like World War II like Captain America game?
Oh my
That
god!
would be awesome.
Yes.
I would not like
shield throwing mechanics.
Yeah,
Do it. Throwing a wrench, you can throw a shield.
Don't do it first person. Do third person. Do it first person. Where you can like feel the shield, throw it, and you can like rebound it off walls.
Yeah.
As a VR game, man.
With VR options, that would certainly be something.
As a VR game, that might be a bit too much intensity in that.
And because, of course, you're saying it in World War II, you can have wheel pistols and things. You can like bang bang, shields and blows, throw the gun, shoot. You know, that'd be amazing.
Well, you can have all plethora of secret weapons of Luftwaffe in that, or other Nazi weirdness that we have in Wolfenstein.
There was loads of on both sides of World War II. There was loads of like experimental weapons being thrown out.
Well,
the idea of them. I mean, just look at Germany and their tanks. They made a tank called the Mouse.
The Mouse droid.
1.5 of them.
or the Tiger Tank, which actually put its own nails in as it moved.
Yeah,
well,
all sorts of really weird stuff.
Yeah, the British were developing this sort of Star Wars Attack of the Clones rotating wheel that didn't work out eventually, but that was an interesting idea as well.
I mean,
they had ideas.
When you delve into like secret weapons of World War II and see kind of the very kind of weird and out there stuff, some of these people, because of course a lot of technology was very, very, very new in its early days back then. I mean, as we say, playing technology evolved vastly over World War One, from the standard biplanes all the way up to the first kind of Zeppelins, up until like turboprops and things. I mean, one of my favorite games, which I use the soundtrack for as the intro, Crimson Skies. That's a diesel punk game based upon turboprop planes from 1930s. That's a really interesting game.
Yeah, and then let's look late war in World War II, where you have the first operational jet-powered fighter aircraft.
Yeah, in World War II.
They had an actual jet aircraft in World War II, the ME-262.
Yeah. ME-262.
That actually got air-to-air kills.
It did. It was the irony being that it was normally too fast for its prey. So ironically, it couldn't prey very well. I think there's one instance I think of. I think it was a P-51 that shot down an ME. One instance of that, which
one instance, but it was at a severe disadvantage because the ME-262 was at the time landing.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah, and I mean,
it still happened.
I mean, there's always the story of the Bismarck, whose guns was not
largest guns ever mounted.
Their guns were too fast to catch the swordfish biplanes, which eventually jammed her rudder and sank her.
Yeah.
Oh, the Bismarck.
That's what happened. All the anti-aircraft guns were angled too high, so they couldn't hit the low-flying biplanes, which then knackered the rudder and allowed the British fleet to surround it.
Yeah, and funnily enough, the exact same thing happened to the Coventry many years later.
Yeah.
Falklands War.
These things happen.
History repeats itself. But yeah, we basically coming back around full circle. We need more games where you get to punch Nazis.
Yes.
Yeah. With your shield.
Yes.
I feel a bit sad now because the talking about that actually makes me sad that I can no longer get on Steam. I had it on my Steam wishes for years, never bought it because I had it on my PlayStation 3 beforehand, and I just thought, I'll get around to picking it up one day. And now you can't buy it; it's delisted, which is a whole other issue with games. And that is Blazing Angels 2: Secret Weapons of World War II.
Oh, that's a great game. That was one of my first games on PS3 back when they didn't yet have the DualShock 3. It had the 6-axis. And I was trying to, because it was a novelty, I was trying to play it with the 6-axis. It was janky as hell, but it was so fun. It was great fun. Trying to steer the plane as if I was holding a model in my hands. And whenever I was tilting the controller, the plane tilted as well. Such a fun game.
By the way, Jen, just for reference, it's myself, it's Bear, Lemming, and then Shadow in that order. Yeah, just because I kind of should get your names on there, but we'll deal with that. This is, of course, the first ever show, teething issues and the likes. Crimson. James saying Crimson Skies. He remembers that. Yes, great game, Crimson Skies. Right, so that's the EA lose the Star Wars exclusive rights, which I'm very pleased about. Although to be fair,
one amendment I would make to that title is they haven't lost the rights.
Yeah,
they've lost
the exclusivity. Yeah. That means EA can still make Star Wars games, but now they have competition.
I do have to say, do say using the exclusive rights. So effectively, it is correct. They can still make it. It's just that other people can now make it as well. And I actually don't think EA have screwed up as much as people say. I think Battlefront 2 was a lot. I mean, to be fair, now Battlefront 2 is actually quite a good game.
Nowadays, it's a great game, especially now that the player base is revived after it was given for free on Epic Game Store.
Yeah, and also let's not forget Squadrons.
Oh yeah. Once they actually put some effort into a game, it actually goes quite well.
Yeah.
Squadrons has a very steady, stable player base, which is a great thing. And
because there was a player base of flight game enthusiasts who wanted a Star Wars title. And lo and behold, what happened when one came out? They all went onto it.
And I think there's something to be said about Squadrons being, I hesitate to say accessible, but it kind of is, because I've never played a flight sim game before. And you can all attest that I picked it up, and I'm pretty damn good at it.
You're doing damn well at it. I mean, as somebody who plays arcade flight games, it's certainly more difficult to get to grips with than, say, an Ace Combat game.
Yeah, it's kind of in the middle between arcade and simulation, isn't it?
That's pretty much where I was going with it.
I mean, that's great to hear that you consider this game to be accessible, because a lot of people, including myself, who were desperate for a game like Squadrons, they were playing Battlefront 2, but only the Starfighter battles. And that was arcade. You just had the 3 abilities and changing speed, that's all.
Yeah.
And all the people who wanted flight games were going to War Thunder because it's free.
Yeah, and I mean, if you need any sort of proof as to how accessible it is, I still play with keyboard and mouse.
Yeah. Just shows you anyone can play it. Like I play it with HOTAS with VR, These guys on PlayStation. These guys play it on PC. If Shadow plays it with keyboard and mouse, she does perfectly fine. 11 plays it with controller.
Yeah.
It's accessible to anyone.
I play Hotas VR like Ebak.
Yeah, I mean,
I want Hotas VR. I have a Hotas set in a box over there, but I don't have the VR.
For anyone who's curious why we're Justin Squadron, it's because us four and Doctor, who's in the chat, we actually run Shadow Squadron, which is a squadron that actually usually plays on these Tuesdays, but we're just doing a podcast tonight as a difference, which might be like a once a month thing going forward. But yeah, Squadron's big thing. I do have one last news topic that I want to cover, which I thought is quite a much more expansive talking point, which is the news about the supposed remake of Resident Evil 4. You guys heard the news about this?
Oh yes, I heard. That can also run into Vicarious Visions. So.
Yes.
Disagreement.
So I'm going to go to IGN for the news. That's where I get my IGN news. Resident Evil 4. Or people say, "Oh, you go to IGN." It's like, well, you got to go somewhere for your gaming news.
Well, it's one place for it to go news. Then again, I go somewhere else. So
you can diversify your sources of news all the way. You want to have as broad a spectrum as you can.
Yeah, you don't want to just get your news from one source. That's
you can't lock yourself in one echo chamber.
That's how propaganda works.
Indeed. Oh God! Don't remind me. I sat in a Tumblr echo chamber for so long.
Oh
it's
God!
Not fun.
It's not
fun.
So I can't...
That's what the current internet algos are good at. They are even if you don't want to, they will be trying to lock you in the echo chambers of what you've been watching at recently.
Speaking of algorithms, there has been a bit of news. Are any of you aware of a YouTube personality called the Spiffing Brit?
Yes. Yeah. Oh yes, he did a video about
he does content where he goes into a video game and shows how perfectly balanced it is by completely breaking the game.
Yes.
Usually to hilarious effect. His latest video is going into detail about how the YouTube algorithm is broken.
We all knew that.
Yeah, but to the point where you can get people showing your videos, showing your channel to people who should not be seeing it, just by posting in the community section.
Oh yes, I remember Jesse making some sort of mention of it when I was browsing YouTube earlier, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting."
Yeah, if you put up a poll in your community section and link it with all sorts of like tags, it'll show up in people who those tags represent without them being even looking at your channel.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow,
it is breaking the algorithm. People are learning about this, and unless YouTube changes it soon, it's going to break.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, that's a bit of news on the YouTube front there.
You've made me interested in that video and that content creator, because since Burger Paul, I don't remember seeing anyone that was correctly showing how to break a game or break something on the internet.
Oh yeah, he shows some real obscene game-breaking exploits. Mostly with single-player games, but he has done multiplayer games.
So
yeah, I've seen... Oh, sorry, Evac, go ahead.
No, please carry on.
I was just going to say I've just seen his videos pop up in my recommended before, but they've seemed to have disappeared now. So
he is entertaining, I'll give him that.
So the Resident Evil 4 news. Resident Evil 4 Remake reportedly getting partial development reboot due to internal disagreements. The article mentions this. VGC reports that sources close to the project, core Resident Evil studio Capcom Division 1, have taken the lead on the project, with the original developer M2 seeing its role reduced. The changes could apparently lead to a 2023 release date. The report explains that following a project review, M2 was seen as being too faithful to the original game, with Capcom preferring that the remake takes more inspiration from Resident Evil 4, but introduces new elements and features. Interesting. So effectively, you've got a game company who hires a game studio and then comes to them and says, "Wait, you're being too faithful to the original as it was. We need you to be a bit more different." And I think people are a bit concerned about that. But the way I see it is that it's the difference between Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 2 Remake is what they're looking for. Whereas, Because if you look
like between Resident Evil 1 remake and Resident Evil 2 remake.
Yes, and I think the key thing is that Resident Evil 4 is a very different game from its predecessors. It's very much more like a shooter, and I think the direction Capcom want to go with it is more like the recent remakes, where it's a bit more focused upon survival horror, not as much combat focused, which is a dramatic way to take Resident Evil 4. One I think is noteworthy, because I actually really not a fan of Resident Evil 4's direction. It's a great game. Not saying it's a bad game. I much prefer the atmosphere of Resident Evil 1 and 2, especially the remakes and 3, of course. I think
4 did become something of a action game over a survival game,
and I think Capcom want it to go more kind of keep in the survival horror area, not revert to action type. And unfortunately, the remake being made by M2 may be seen as too faithful for that kind of goal. But interesting that instead of just giving them the chance to redo the vision, it seems to be that M2 are like, no, almost like disagreeing with the direction that.
And there's something to be said about the difference between a remake and a remaster.
Yes, which is a distinction that's not made enough, I think.
Yes, that's why. Which Final Fantasy game was it? I know this is heresy to say that, but it was a remake, and people didn't realize, and they thought they were getting a remaster, and dollies were thrown out prams and stuff like that.
Are you talking about Final Fantasy VII this year?
Yes. Yeah.
At least part 1 of the Final Fantasy VII remake.
Yeah.
I think that's very fun. I think the gaming industry should make more of an effort to distinguish. No, a remake is remaking the game from the ground up with new ideas, whereas a remaster is literally just putting a brand new coat of paint over it.
Yeah, or back to a game I was talking about earlier with Command & Conquer. The remaster of that is literally just everything's brought up to HD, the music's been remastered, have fun.
Yeah, even if the code of the game is just enabled to new machines or to new consoles, it's already a remaster. It's not much has changed, but the game is now playable somewhere.
Yes, and that's also why Warcraft 3 remaster went so badly wrong. But I will get to this with Vicarious Visions, I'm pretty sure.
I mean,
because I have a lot to say.
If not for one small fact, Warcraft 3 remaster might have just slid by. If there was an option to play the original Warcraft 3. Yes. If that was enabled, it would have been fine. People would have just not bought Warcraft 3 Reforged.
But it wasn't just that as well. It was promises made.
And
There's more details actually.
It's almost like a running theme with how you make promises as a games company, then don't fulfill those promises, and people don't like you for it.
It's also taking us back to the whole first impressions counting thing.
It's funny how it's funny how CD Projekt Red didn't see something like that coming.
It's crazy. I mean, after seeing the absolute crater that was left by No Man's Sky,
they just don't. They just don't learn.
CDPR. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to say with No Man's Sky, someone from What Culture Game made a very good point the other day. He's like, yeah, sure, they made promises they didn't reach, but at least you could play the game.
Yes.
And the thing about those guys was, it all went tits up, but then they went quiet. They literally just went quiet and just worked on improving the game. They didn't start fighting.
Oh yeah, I mean, I own No Man's Sky. I enjoy No Man's Sky. What I'm saying here is first impressions count, and they must have lost a lot of customers. With that release.
Yeah, and it's also the association with the name now. Whenever somebody says No Man's Sky to me, I think, oh yeah, that was the game that went really badly. And also when people talk about Dead Cells, I think of the plagiarism nonsense. It's just which is a shame for Dead Cells, because Dead Cells is, from what I hear, is a very good game and does deserve it. But
that, I think, kind of ways.
It's always something that sticks in people's heads.
Yeah. Yes. You were going to say something, Bear.
I was saying, first of all, I was saying that CDPR plunged even more than Sean Murray did with No Man's Sky. But they are also, they are a bigger company, and they are a stockholder company. So they have to do all kinds of extinguishing fires, which they do with better or worse results. Currently, a bit worse. Like the CEO recently, who just threw the QA department
Under the
under the
bus.
bus.
Yes.
That was horrible.
Yeah, that was gross negligence.
Yeah, but on in defense,
I hated every second of that
Mhm.
'cause it's like, so you are standing there as the head of a company and saying, "Oh yeah, I take responsibility, but fuck the testing team."
Yeah.
It's
Oh
like,
god.
oh god, you
Oh.
should have just left it at, I screwed
It's
up.
like
And also liking
when
all the
will these
posts that-
companies
Yeah.
and go ahead.
No, I was just saying that he also did the thing of liking posts that criticize people who were criticizing CD Projekt Red, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
you are such a
Yeah.
salty, and I can't say that word, but I've got it in my mouth. I've got it in my mouth, but I can't say it.
Yeah. It's just like, when will companies understand that although yes, you are first and foremost reliant on your backers, they are a publicly traded company and they need to work in the benefit of their board of directors and all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, you're the people that picks the release dates.
Yes.
You are the people that put out the big public announcement saying it's going to release on this date at X time. If you don't know when your game is going to be finished, stop making deadlines.
Yeah, and they are the people who choose to ignore the calls from the QA department and from the dev saying nothing is all right.
Yeah.
We have to postpone it. I don't know how long, but
it would have been very simple. They could have
yeah.
said CD Projekt Red is going to be producing Cyberpunk 2077 in the future. It's coming. Get hyped.
Yeah,
But to defend the company and the game a bit, I would say like every game of CDPR actually had a lot of problems at launch. Witcher 1, Witcher 2, they were hardly playable at launch. Witcher 1 was only playable a year later when the enhanced edition was released. Witcher 3 had a lot of hiccups as well. People don't remember it now because it was pretty easily and quickly fixed. So CDPR just got complacent. I mean, the
magic thing.
the management got pretty complacent because of that. And as a defense of Cyberpunk, I'm now playing a lot of it. I'm now at my 50th hour of playing it, and as far as the open world of this game and a lot of graphic is just an empty shell. It's not the level of RDR2 or GTA 5 that they promised.
Yeah.
The people who are writing the side quests, the people who are writing the characters and the plot, they should be given all kinds of praises because that is masterfully done. It's even better. It's for me, it's an order of magnitude better than The Witcher 3, which was already very high on the level of great storytelling and great quests.
But in a way, doesn't that make it worse?
It does make it worse because that's like part of the company was doing really its best, and the other part of the company was just the other part of the game was just glossed over because that part is great, so we'll just it will be okay somehow. So they just ignored that. Yeah.
I think one thing which makes me kind of throw up in my mouth a little bit about this whole situation is GamesIndustry.biz released an article this past Friday on the 22nd of January, and it states that the December sales were shattered by digital sales by Cyberpunk 2077 with $12 billion worth of revenue. And I'm just sitting there thinking, you guys don't deserve that right now. And that's the point, is that the investors are sitting there rubbing their thumbs saying, great, we got our money, that's fine, we got our money. And
except not really, because the prices of the stocks just plummeted down ever since.
Oh, their stocks plummeted, but they still got the money from their.
They got the money from the copies, but now we just gotta see if they make true to the word and make the game playable and enjoyable for.
I know
it's almost too late.
Yeah.
It's almost too late.
Yeah, well, the thing that gets me is, yes, they need to improve the game, but with so much crunch that the development team has already gone under, I kind of don't want it. Like, not straight away. I'm just like, oh my god, just let them rest, please.
It's hard because I want to agree with you at the same time. They release a product and it doesn't work, and there's a lot of angry people who are angry about that. And I think there's, as a customer, it's a legitimate thing. I mean, I don't think they should crunch over it. I think I definitely not. But at the same time, this game should never have been released in the first place.
No.
And I know it's become a meme.
In this state, it's obscene.
It's just absolutely ridiculous.
And as has been said by a number of people, it's a failure of the management.
Yes. Yep.
Crunch is a failure of management.
Yeah.
Delays are a failure of management. People having emotional breakdowns over how hard you are pressing them to finish a game you set the deadline for is your problem.
Yes.
Not us, the game buying community, who is putting money towards your product.
Yeah, you're not the one holding a gun to their head.
Precisely.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Because, of course, you don't do your work, that's fine. Goodbye.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the main problem I have with 0-hour contracts these days.
Yes.
Yeah. My work history is I spent a couple of years working for employment agencies because I couldn't get anything else. Admin, data entry, the usual office work to keep myself going, and I was going through agencies. And the problem with agencies is they don't have to give you any notice. So the one thing that made me give up on agencies and try any other method was I went to work. It took me an hour to get there on public transport. I got into work. I started working. Half an hour later, my manager walks up to me. He's like, why are you here? It's like, I'm doing my job. Didn't anyone tell you we don't need you anymore? They had informed my agency that I was surplus to requirements, and my agency hadn't forwarded me the message.
Jesus Christ.
That's
so
awful.
Agency work, 0-hour contracts. They have no obligation to keep you, the person doing the work, secure. And that sucks.
Fuck capitalism, am I right?
Yeah, fuck
Basically,
capitalism.
Yeah.
At
this point, yes.
The last news topic we've got on here is the acquisition of Vicarious Visions by Blizzard, which is probably one that Shadow can probably is more qualified to lead than I am.
Yeah, well, I made sure to do my research. I'm going to be the Ian Hislop of this this podcast, probably.
Go on.
Right, so Vicarious Visions, as we know, has been it was already a Activision subsidiary, if I remember correctly. Most well known for doing the Insane trilogy. Before that was handed over for Games for Bob, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And what's happened is that Vicarious Visions has been merged into Blizzard, not acquired by Blizzard. It's still under Activision. So what the real spicy thing is what exactly is going on, because shall I link you the game?
Yeah, please do.
Put it in the chat for you there. So what's going on is Vicarious Visions was an independent studio doing its own thing, but now it's being merged into Blizzard. And according to the press release, they're going to be dedicated to existing Blizzard games and initiatives. ? And so what's really going on is that I think, let me just skim a little.
Article provided by gamesbiz.com. Gamesindustry.biz.
Yeah. Right, yes. There's also a Bloomberg article by Jason Schreier that goes into more detail, but I would link it, but because Bloomberg is a shitlord about free content articles, it may or may not come up. So, well, the thing is, we all know about the Warcraft 3 remastered disaster. that was done by Blizzard's Team 1. Overworked, not spoken to. For example, they were not told that the game was taking pre-orders in 2019. They didn't know that people were pre-ordering the game when they were working on it. So that's a piece of shit.
Yeah, that in itself is painful.
Yeah, and
Wow.
it was rushed because I remember that they said, well, we're going to do all the cutscenes better. We're going to make it glorious sort of visions. We're going to make sure it adheres to the lore and stuff like that. And then it just, each time it got back a little bit, it was just like, well, no, we're only going to just touch up the cutscenes just a little bit. It's just going to still be an engine kind of thing. Or, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to put the lore in. It's just going to be the same kind of thing. And people were just going, okay. Because I was surprised when it came up in BlizzCon, I think 2019, when it finally showed up and they were like, oh yeah, here's Warcraft 3 Remastered. And I was thinking, that's awfully quick to actually start taking pre-orders. And it turns out it was.
Ooh.
So Team 1, which was working on the Warcraft 3 remake, was actually, they were working on a remake of Diablo 2. Now, if anybody knows Diablo 2, that needs to be done. And when that is done, you can't have the same mistakes you made with Warcraft 3.
No.
Oh, no. Or
A mistake with Diablo 2 would bury your company.
Exactly.
The problem is that if they were sorry to interrupt, Shadow. The problem is that if they had been working on a remake of Diablo 2 at the same time, it might be too late to undo all the changes because they might have implemented all that before they realized what a shit show the Warcraft 3 Reforged was. So it may be just, we went the wrong way. Now it's too late to repair that. What do we do? Do we scramble the project or do we go on regardless?
Well, see what happened. So they wanted to avoid the mistakes of, that happened before with Diablo 2. However, shortly after the post-mortem on, I'm quoting from the article now, shortly after the post-mortem of Warcraft 3 Reforged, Blizzard pulled that project from Team 1 and put the division behind Diablo 4 in charge.
Ooh.
And then they also assigned a group at Vicarious Visions to work on the remake as well, which you can sort of see makes sense because they made the Insane trilogy and they were also working on other remakes. So they were probably thinking, well, we'll have a team that's experienced at remaking, just assign them to this thing. But it's kind of incredibly shitty that this group could sort of say, well, we made some mistakes, let's try again and try again and learn from the mistakes. But the company's just like, yeah, now you fucked up, piss off, which is what happened with Andromeda's studio, if I remember correctly. And also the thing about Diablo 4, like, no, this is not the same. The things you're putting into Diablo 4 are not the same as what you need for Diablo 2.
Yeah, even someone who's not as experienced with Diablo as I am knows that the two are very different kind of features in the mechanics.
Yeah, I admit I'm not a big Diablo person, but I know about it. I know enough about it from other people to know that it's not a series you put your hands in and not expect burnt. I mean, we all saw what happened with Diablo 3.
Also, if people have done a masterful Insane Trilogy remake, that doesn't mean they will be qualified to do a remake for a Diablo 2 completely different game.
They're very different games.
Yeah. And the
that
problem
Diablo 2 needs to be is revered by a large portion of the gaming community. Even those who haven't played it know that this is a classic, quintessential classic game.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
so if you're going to do anything with it, like a remaster or a remake, you need to put your best on it.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't start shuffling studios around like nobody's business. And the problem is that Vicarious Visions was helping, and then Blizzard was like, you know what? Well, Activision was like, you know what? you can belong to Blizzard now. You this is all that you will be doing, kind of thing. So no
Yeah.
no more Tony Hawk, no anything else. It's just
That instills
like,
no confidence at all in Activision Blizzard and in the whole project.
yeah,
No, it
and
doesn't.
I have a theory. I know this is literally just a theory. Don't put any weight on it, but I've heard rumblings that it might have something to do with also neutering Blizzard's outspokenness, because there's still a group of people within Blizzard that are still, screaming and shouting, trying, still the old Blizzard, like a really tiny subsection, like what happened with the Hong Kong debacle when they kicked up a fuss, and then all this talk about well, people can't even afford food in the canteen at Blizzard in the Irvine location, I think it was. So there's that, and I have this suspicion that Activision is sort of trying to neuter that outspokenness, trying to dilute Blizzard as much as possible until it is just another cog in the machine.
Yeah, they're trying to like railroad them into their own corporate mindset.
Yes,
This might once again result in more companies created by ex-Blizzard employees who just fuck off as they should.
Well, yeah. Well, Mike Morhaime did that. I can't remember which company he founded, but he basically gathered a couple of ex-Blizzard devs and was like, "We're gonna make a new company, woo!"
Yeah, we know what we're doing. Let's do it on our own.
Yeah, and I think that's extremely important, because we all know what happened with SimCity. Like,
yes.
I can't. What year did it come out in? I've purged the latest.
2013 is coming to mind.
2013, probably.
I think. Let's have a look.
We're going to assume that. But the last SimCity game, we all know how atrocious that was.
Hey,
And
2013, nailed it.
Nice. And we all know how atrocious that was. I pre-ordered it, and I pre-ordered the digital deluxe edition, so that hurts. That hurts so much.
Yeah, I was right there with you.
Yeah, and from the ashes comes swaggering in from Sweden, I think it is.
City Skylines.
Colossal Order says, "Hey, we've got City Skylines. Do you want to have a look?" And zoom.
Swing. Just zong, just stepping in, swinging its big skyscraper around, just absolutely just nudging everything out of the way, because that has become the definitive City game in a lot of people's minds, the modern definitive game.
Yeah, and I just
it really took over the moment. Like, everyone was so down after the always online microtransaction SimCity game from EA, and then a small company comes up and says, "Hey, we made a good one."
Yeah, it's just like, we made SimCity, but we made it better.
It's almost laughable how EA's mismanagement of SimCity created a golden marketing opportunity for that company.
Yeah, I mean, they did, and it's an amazing game.
Yeah, I mean, I have issues with how Paradox sort of handles the all the DLC and stuff like that, but in the grand scheme of things, that's one of the better publishers, honestly. And the thing about Skylines that I always love is the starting area is exactly the same size as the old SimCity, but the thing is, you can buy more land, just the same sort, just plots, more and more plots of land. Is just so funny. And the thing is, you have mods, and they're like, "Oh yeah, if you want to unlock all the plots that you can ever want, go ahead." Or you can have infinite money, you can have infinite natural resources, anything you want, the modders will put out for you. And the best mods the sort of the best mods sort of get incorporated into some of the updates and stuff like that, or things that modders can't do, like we put the trams in, kind of thing. And it's just, I love it as a game. I'm not very good at it, and I just use it as a sort of a canvas to do creative stuff.
But that's not what gaming is for, to be good at. Gaming is for having fun with it.
Oh my god, you got two segues possibly right here at this point. I think we've covered the topic of Vicarious Visions well and truly, wouldn't you say, Shadow?
I think so.
Okay, so it's 9:30. We can either call it here, or we can go on half an hour, or a bit longer, on another topic. Which there's two topics we could segue into. Which basically we want to use this as a platform for us to talk about things that we think are issues in the gaming industry, or just things just for talking points in general. And there are two segues we can go off from at that point. One is into preservation, which modding comes into that. Or the second one, which is I think is very much also Shadow's baby, which is elitism within gaming.
Let me talk about elitism.
The lady wants to talk
doing
about
it.
elitism, so I think we're talking about elitism in gaming. So the
Yeah,
topic, the general topic of this is basically because there's not a prevalence, but there is a general aspect within a community to be like having to belittle other people because they didn't finish the game. They finished the game on easy mode, and not on like super mega ultra difficulty hard, and things like that, and almost like it's some kind of like, look at me, look how big tough I am, and it really annoys me. Like I'm someone who I would play Dark Souls and that lot if there was an easier way of playing it, but I don't want to deal with the frustration that comes along with it. Some say that's part of the experience. I say nah, it's not a fun part of the experience. So yeah, Shadow, do take the lead.
All right, I have a lot. Well, the thing is, I'm on both sides of the coin. To be honest, I've been that sort of elitist person, but not as you might think. Not for like the really hard. Like I play things that are really hard, but I get the mindset of an elitist kind of person. And the thing about most things of elitism, when quality of life is added to games, is it's a sort. It's you feel better about yourself having done it the hard way, if you understand my meaning. And when you see it being made easier, you it's almost like an attack on yourself. You're just like you're no longer worthy kind of thing. Like, oh, people could just do this like really easy. It's like people doing WoW raids and getting like the really rare mount drop. And then people now can run it like solo. They could just solo the raid that used to take like 10, 15, 20 people at a time. And the hardcore get really annoyed by it because I did it the hard way. Why? I did it the hard way. I suffered. Why don't other people suffer? Why do they have to have it easy? Why can't they suffer like I did? That's the main thing that gets me. And it's just like, no, it's that's the thing because when I first played Star Wars: The Old Republic, like when it was released on my birthday, and I must have turned 17, and I loved it, but I remember that you couldn't get speeder, you couldn't get the fast. It wasn't the fast travel. It was I don't know how to describe it. A sort of a how would you describe the mounts in WoW? Like a speed up kind of thing, a dash, something like that. Anyway, but you couldn't get that until I can't remember what the max level was, but it was like close to it, like really, really close. You couldn't get that kind of training. And of course, as time goes on, the the level the level the level threshold gets reduced. The training cost gets reduced. And I still remember having seeing the news and sort of thinking, and I felt this sort of stab of well, why do they get it so back in my day I had to I ran through Hoth. Back in my day you had to run through that shit. You didn't get any fancy speeder bikes, and if your fast travel was on cooldown you had to just fucking suck it up.
Perhaps the
And it was uphill both ways.
Perhaps the youngest person in our chat talking about back in my day.
Okay, boomer.
But that was the kind of thing. And I remember I mean the companion system changed in the Old Republic. I still remember my first companion, Corso Riggs. He was a ranged tank who could use blaster rifles, and he had an ability called the harpoon, which literally pulls an enemy towards you, which isn't great if you're a ranged tank, but bear with me here. But the thing is, there is a fight in there is a fight in the story, the smuggler story in Tatooine, known as the Light Spring, and it's part of the mechanic that you have to use his harpoon to bring a. You have to bring one of the bosses away from the other bosses, otherwise you get completely and utterly annihilated. But because of there was a problem in the because there was a problem on early release where you could turn companion abilities off, but because of a bug they would re-enable once you changed instances, and so you'd end up with Corso pulling enemies on top of you, and the smuggler is a ranged class, so it didn't end up very well. So after all that shenanigans, they were like, all right, he doesn't have a harpoon anymore, but he does have a jetpack, so he'll move toward, he'll actually go towards the he'll go towards his target. But it broke the fight in the Light Spring, and I remember being on the forums and sort of puffing my chest out and sort of going, "Well, I did it before. I did it before you had a jetpack. I did it the intended way," kind of thing. And what I'm trying to
the villain on that day.
Yeah. Well,
yes, I think what I'm trying to get at here is some people who do this elitist kind of thing are looking for a meaning. They're looking for something that they can hold above. They're looking for that. I'm trying to.
I'm better than you.
Yeah, they're looking for the I hate to say the meaning in their life, but they're looking for something.
Some validation.
Yes, that's the
Yeah.
word, validation, and it's especially prevalent in people who, maybe not the most popular at school, maybe got bullied, like myself.
Oh, so you mean most of the population of the Earth
Yeah.
that people don't want to admit about?
But that some people have that kind of, well, I did it this way and I did it before it was cool, and you
Mm.
see the feats of strength in WoW, and it's just like, yeah, I was there for this thing, and it's just,
I think
I think,
I don't think there's a problem with showing off achievements. That's not anything.
No, I mean,
It's more
there's a
Yeah.
difference between having pride of something
Yeah.
you've achieved and using what you've achieved to make other people feel worse.
Yeah,
yes,
definitely the bragging rights should be there in the
Oh,
games.
yeah.
Yeah,
like-
I mean,
We
Ever
got
since the high scores, we've had bragging rights.
high scores,
and
trophies.
yeah.
I mean, I am particularly proud of the fact that I am one of the few people in the world who has the Mile High achievement on Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the first one, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, which was beating the epilogue level on the hardest difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
It took me 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, I think
the level is 1.5 minutes.
Yeah, I think the main problem is just it's climbing up the ladder and then pulling the ladder up behind you, kind of thing, as is prevalent with life. But I think that's what gets me, and because I'm going to confess another thing to you guys. My first Pokemon game was Pokemon Gold. Remember?
Yeah.
Do you know which Pokemon game I actually finished legitimately? Pokemon X and Y.
Oh.
That was the first game I never cheated in.
What do you classify as completing when it
As
comes
in-
to a Pokemon game?
Well, I mean, like beating the story in the Elite Four and becoming champion
Right.
and that kind of thing, and getting up to the
Just
post game.
making sure, because as somebody who's only played and finished one Pokemon game, that was Leaf Green, I just had to make sure what the actual barrier
the barrier for saying complete is.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, no, I didn't. I finished it, I should have said. But
Yeah.
I used to just I had a cheat cartridge, and I would use it to finish all my Pokemon games until I couldn't in the 3DS. So I actually had to play the game for the first time properly.
I don't.
But no, wait. But what I'm trying to say is that the thing about the reason why I cheated was because I wanted to see to the end of the game. I wanted to get the legendary. I wanted to see the Pokemon beyond. I wanted to get my favorites, that kind of thing. And I didn't play the multiplayer, so I just balked my own saves for for single player. And the thing is, if people want to play easy, they just want to see the game. That's the thing. People want
There's
to.
there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, what really grinds my gears is when developers and community people belittle you for it. The worst example I think is actually Wolfenstein. I hate how when you have it on easy mode or whatever it is, it shows BJ Blazkowicz in a baby bonnet with a pacifier.
Even back when it first came out, the easy difficulty has always been, can I play Daddy?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That's what it's titled. I mean, I adore the Wolfenstein games, but I am willing to admit that is stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, it's
some may say,
easy,
"Oh, it's
medium, or hard."
Some will say, "Oh, it's a fucking joke." It's like, yeah, but some people might take that. Yeah, it is belittling.
It's an unnecessary joke.
It is an unnecessary joke. It's a joke at the expense of the person who's playing your fucking game. You know?
Yeah, it's a joke that it's no longer funny kind of thing.
Yeah.
It makes me
it's played out.
Yes, it makes me think of Scarf's Monkey Island 2 video. Just that joke in inverted commas, just like that ain't funny anymore. It just doesn't. It's not survived the test of time.
Well, just like the Monkey Island 2, that's a joke that was brought from the original Wolfenstein, where the times where the zeitgeist was much less sensitive than now, and there was a lot more of those things, like the game telling that I ought to smack you for quitting when you exit the game and such. Oh, that was weird as well. Even then,
the original Wolfenstein. If you try to quit, it was like it would give you really weird options.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember Doom would sort of tease you for trying to quit as well.
Yeah, that's exactly that. So that's probably only because of that those names of the difficulties left. But still,
I mean, it is. Those difficulties being included in the new games, I can fully understand it as being a throwback, because they are really tributes to the originals in a lot of ways. The recent Doom games, the new Wolfenstein games are massive, like, love letters to the original games. But there are parts of those things that we haven't grown more sensitive. We've grown up.
Yes, that's the thing. We've become more aware.
We've grown up.
We are more aware of other people's feelings.
Yeah. Yes. And I also think we're not just that, we've grown up, we're more aware of other people's feelings. We've grown up, we have other responsibilities now.
Exactly.
We can't.
Exactly.
Some people just want to play through a game and get the experience of finishing it, and they finished it, great, that's it, they can put it down. And sometimes there's too much. Like, for example, I will never play Dark Souls, Demon Souls, or these kind of hard games, because I haven't got time for that shit. I haven't got time, and people say, "Oh, you just got to learn the timings." It's like, yeah, okay, I just want to sit down and enjoy a game. Like, I'm very much enjoying Ghost of Tsushima, and that's not exactly a hard game. It's not an easy game either, but it's not a hard game. And a game that especially punishes you like that, punishes you. And what's worse is that the game itself is fair enough, but it's the community that when you even suggest the idea of an easy mode, it's like, no, it wouldn't be a Souls game. Wouldn't be a Souls game. Wouldn't be a Souls game. Take your Souls game and shove it far up your ass.
Let us enjoy. You don't have to play a Souls game at the difficulty I would like to play it at.
Yes.
Just because I personally like challenging myself when the game allows me, doesn't mean that the developer, and I'm running into a tangent here, of Doom Eternal was right to make it so that I can't play through that game on normal difficulty.
Yeah.
Like I did. I played through Doom 2016 on normal difficulty. I then played Doom Eternal on normal difficulty, enjoyed both experiences for what they were. I then booted up the more recent Ancient Gods Part 1 DLC for Doom Eternal, and going into the last level, had to turn it down because it's obscene. The difficulty curve in that DLC is literally obscene.
Oh, I think that's a different issue entirely. But I do agree with you in that fact. It's good that you can turn it down. I think that's a great accessible thing. You can turn it down.
It should be good.
Oh, do you want? Can you guys remember back in the arcade days? Or not arcade days, but early kind of console games, where there are some games where literally, if you played on easy difficulty, they would stop your progression at this point.
Yeah,
Cuphead springs to mind.
Cuphead is a great example, and I'm like, you give us everything is at the final boss. Why?
Yeah.
Why? And Streets of Rage is the worst one for me. I love the Streets of Rage series, but if you play on easy, you get to some point in the game, it's like, oh no, you're playing on easy. Fuck you. You got to replay. If you want to play any further, you got to play the game on normal. It's like, why?
And as Scud says in my chat, it's hand holding to a certain degree.
Yeah,
I mean,
there is. It is hand holding. It is hand holding. But if people want to have a handhold, they should have that option.
Yeah, that's the thing. Well, the thing is, this actually brings me to a great tangent about like Pathfinder Kingmaker that I finally actually got around to playing. But the thing about it is that when you start the game, you're given a swath of difficulty options. And the thing about the difficulty options, it goes from story mode to easy, normal, and then all the way up to hard. And then it locks like the really hard stuff behind, it's like we would prefer if you played the game first before you try and do the really hard shit. But each difficulty level is explained, like in story mode, it's like, well, the characters can't die. They'll just fall over and be unconscious, and then they'll get back up again. They'll be fine. And then it's easy mode where, like, well, they won't die. They will fall over, but they'll get a grievous wound. And if they're hit again, then they will die, kind of thing. And stuff like that. But also, what I love the most about it is the custom difficulty. So you could do easy, which I did, and then you can go down into the sliders and sort of say, well, I do want to be. I thought, well, I do want to be able for my characters to die because I want that. I don't want it to be, I want some, danger.
You don't want to be bored with the game.
Yeah, but I don't want too much danger. I don't want like crits to completely fuck me over, kind of thing. So you're allowed to tailor that sort of thing to yourself, and I think that's really good. And also, for survival games especially, because I don't like them. I'm just going to be honest, I don't like them because like I said, I'm more casual. I don't really, in those kind of games, I don't really want to be challenged, kind of thing. And sometimes they're just extremely unfair. And they're just like, well, you've just eaten, but contrary to what happens normally, now you're hungry again. Like, do I have to, kind of thing. And I think people could say, well, you just learn how to get around that. It's just like, yeah, but I just want to have fun. I'm here for other shit, not the survival. This is really stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be the first to say I love the concept and the idea of being able to tailor difficulty
to yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a brilliant idea.
Having it just set as easy, medium, or hard means little to no reason when those difficulties aren't explained to you.
Exactly, and that's what I really love about the Kingmaker game. It's like it explains down to like the nth degree. Like this is what will happen. This is how you get this back, and this is the difference between this, that, and the other. And then you just get the opportunity to just fucking tinker if you want.
Yeah, exactly. You should be able to in a lot more games than they currently have that option in.
Yeah.
Well, from my perspective, not many games have really well difficulty levels done because it requires you basically to test the game 3-4 times thoroughly each time for each difficulty level. So basically they are just saying on a sort of, I don't know, normal level, average level, whatever it's called, that default level, that this game has been optimized for this level and it should give the biggest group of audience the most fun out of it.
And sometimes
it doesn't have to be for you. It might be too hard for you, it might be too easy for you.
Yeah,
that depends on you. However, the thing is, sorry not to let you speak, but those other levels may not be balanced properly, so sometimes it's just you get too bored when you switch to easy, or you get too frustrated when you get too hard or something.
I
you back?
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Burr. And one thing which I want to say is, you're completely right in that some games, their idea of making things difficult is just, oh yeah, just increase the bad guy's health by about 50%.
Oh Jesus!
And it's like some things where, and it's nice when games give you. I mean, I don't know. There are games I definitely encountered, but I can't literally recall them off my own head. That kind of give you like, okay, how much damage do you do? How much damage does your enemy does? How much damage does it take to kill you? How much damage does it take to kill them? And there are so many different ways you can fine tune a game to where it's like just the difficulty where it's not too difficult, but it gives you just enough challenge. And it's nice when games can do that, especially when it comes to things like HUD elements. Like, I hate how people complain about accessible features and hand-holding things. It's like, if you don't like them, there's options not to use them. And in games like Hitman, for example, you can turn off instinct, you can turn off mission stories, you can turn off pretty much anything that gives you guidance and just go with your own instinct if you wanted to. And they're there to provide accessibility. And I have to admit, after going back and playing a few games from back in the noughts, there's a lot of games now where I'm like, oh, this is so difficult to play. Not because it's difficult, because it's tedious, because it just doesn't. It gives you nothing to work with.
Yeah.
And on the other side of the spectrum, for me at least, is a game that I play an awful lot of, which is Escape from Tarkov, which the main developer, the lead of Battlestate Games, Nikita, who has the brain behind the game. He writes all the music for it. He is the man at the head of all of this. He has gone on record saying, "We don't want this to. This is not a game to have fun with."
Oof.
Yeah, he is purposely making this game difficult. This is a incredibly hard experience to work through.
Well,
I'd argue he's failed I'd argue he's failed as a game developer then, because
in a way he has.
Because isn't the point of a game to have fun? And yes, you can find fun in challenge, but
yeah, exactly. But
I studied game design. I know how this fucking thing works.
As somebody who's played this game for in excess of 3,000 hours, it might not be fun, but my God, is it engaging? Because they've got the difficulty in a way that feels fair.
Yes.
If you get into a firefight with somebody and one of his bullets the recoil makes it go into your head, fair play, you're dead. That's it.
Yes.
But it could happen the other way. Just yesterday, I was in a fight with a man. I had a single bolt action rifle, and he had a shotgun. We were about 20 feet apart. He should have had a major advantage, but he didn't, because I got the first shot. I missed, but one of my shots popped him in the head.
The difference...
It felt great.
Fair play. The difference, I think, which we were talking about there, Eleving, is that you're talking about a multiplayer game.
Yes.
At that point, there's no such thing as difficulty here, because it's all about balance and about the competition between people. I'm not saying there should be like an easy mode in multiplayer games. Once you get into multiplayer, at that point, everyone's all like should be put on a fair playing field. I mean,
that's another point I always make about this game that I'll get off my Tarkov horse in a minute. But one point I make about Tarkov as a game is the point of it is imbalance. There is no balance to this game, because you can have people you could be running around with a pistol.
The unpredictable
and running into people with full body armor.
Yeah.
It's that lack of balance, but you could go in with a pistol and kill someone in full body armor.
Yeah.
And take all of his stuff.
That's true.
That imbalance. And as you were saying.
I was saying, I just think that when a lot, like, for example, and there was a big old discussion I actually had, fun enough, with Scarf and Weird and Molagul as like a kind of a makeshift podcast nearly a year ago back, where we discussed Mike Matei's comments about, which really was comments about language more than anything, because he maintains that if you play a modern rendition of a classic game using things like rewind or save states, you cannot claim to have beaten the game, which I fully disagree with him with. It's like, well, strongly disagree. I experienced that game. Maybe I didn't beat it using the same rules as you did, but I ain't got time to play a bullshit game for 20 years ago. That's whole point is to waste your time
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
bullshit game
Well,
design.
it
Yeah.
it
See
it
Casio Mario
yeah.
for more details.
It may not, and I would agree with maybe you would agree that it may not give me the same bragging rights as you have for beating this game without save states and repeating everything from the beginning all those years ago. But I just want to experience the game.
Yeah.
I want
Yeah, I
to
mean,
see what it
when
is.
it-
I don't
when it
have
comes
time for the
to-
bullshit. Yeah.
When it comes to games from 20 years ago, like the original, Streets of Rages, Sonic the Hedgehogs, Mario Brothers, the whole limited life system was a throwback from the arcade era,
Exactly.
where the entire
Oh.
point of having limited
Mhm.
numbers of lives was to make you put more
Um,
money in.
Yeah.
That wasn't the only. That wasn't the
No.
only reason. The other reason was that there was just no memory to have save files for
I
the
mean, that
game.
too, yeah.
I
But
know-
the whole thing is, if you didn't have a save file, surely the better option would be to have you not have as many lives, so you can to not have to worry about lives,
And-
so you can make it all the way through.
And also, they were extensions of the game's life cycle because back then, those games were
Yeah.
very expensive. You only got a game and you had to make the most out of
Yeah.
that for months and
And-
months on end.
Not only that because they were expensive, but also once again returning to the limited memory, you couldn't make a big game. You couldn't make a 20-hour game. You could make a 3-hour game. But if you wanted a 3-hour game to last someone for 2 months or 3 months, it must have been very hard and requiring you to repeat everything all over again. Because otherwise, you would notice that this game is beatable within one evening. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it's not worth your money.
Which means-
exactly.
I
But
think-
which
okay,
gets us on to the whole idea of modernizing those games. These days, those types of games are a lot cheaper. They can be produced a lot more effectively, and they don't need a life system
Sonic
because
Mania.
you're buying the bingo.
Besides those save states and those freezes, they don't really make those games easier. I've been trying to play the old Mario games on my Switch with the save state. Doesn't get any easier.
I've been playing the Mega Man collection, Mega Man 1 all the way through to Mega Man. I think I've got 10 as well on my Switch, and
I've got it on this.
without the rewind, I would not have got even through Mega Man 2.
Yeah,
And I say I've beaten Mega Man 2. I would never claim that I'm a master at Mega Man 2, but that's not what I'm doing. I wanted to experience Mega Man 2. My experience was mostly frustration.
yeah,
Which
because of how ridiculously hard those games
yeah.
are.
Oh yeah, just jump down here into the next part of the level. Oh no, there's a spike pit that you couldn't have known is there, but if you were holding left, you would have avoided it. I guess you can try on your next life. Ugh. Just like that kind of bullshit.
You've only got 2 of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
that sucked back then very much.
And that's the thing with Make My Tai is I can respect his opinion. Like, okay, you can't boast you're the master. I fully agree with that. But to say you're not beating a game is a bit of elitism, in my opinion. And basically, it's a case of I want you to suffer like I suffered, which my friend says, nah,
exactly.
fuck
Like
you.
G did.
Yeah, it's just linked back to what I was saying.
Yep.
It's the validation thing.
It's the validation.
And what I am gonna say is, if I do play games on easy because as we've gone over, we just want to experience the game and we haven't got the time to fuck about anymore. But the thing is, if I like a game, I will put that difficulty up to normal.
Oh yeah.
I tried to do with Squadrons and got my ass beat, but because I've forgotten how to avoid missiles. But that's the thing. I will go up to the next level, because I'm like, well, I won't ever play it on hard. You could kiss my ass for that, but I will definitely play it on normal just to see how it goes. And when the level, I must admit, I have played Mass Effect normally, except for 3. I think it might have been 2 as well, when you were able to choose difficulty settings for Mass Effect. I played them on easy, but when the Legendary Edition comes out, I'm gonna play them on normal because I love the games, and I think it's time for me to do the step up. We'll see how I fare later on. But
I used to go into and play games on the easy mode. Now more recently I've gone into like normal because I'm like I think I've got a handle on I'm experienced with games. I know how games work. I think I'm good enough to at least handle normal. And most of the time, it's fine. I've never had an issue since then. Maybe I'll move up to hard. I don't know. But the key thing is, I never felt a need to do that. It's just like, well, it's just I think I'm competent enough that I can do it at normal.
Yeah.
And it was not like a pride thing. And I guess, I agree with you, Charlie. If I like a game enough, I will play it on its hard difficulty. I have played Uncharted 2 on expert difficulty because I loved Uncharted 2 so much.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a case of wanting to push yourself in a game that you love as much as you do. For example, I am a big fan of the Halo games. When Halo Reach came out, me and a friend of mine had a bit of a competition. He beat it on legendary difficulty, and I beat it solo on legendary difficulty. So I was just a bit like, yeah, I did that. But Halo Reach had weekly challenges that it would throw at you. And one day, the weekly challenge was to beat the last level on what is known as Lasso, which is legendary, all skulls on.
Oh, no.
The skulls are difficulty modifiers in Halo games. One of which being, if you die, there are no checkpoints. Yeah, the Iron Skull is obscene. And these skulls make the game drastically more difficult. Enemies are tougher. You can only get your shields back if you perform a melee attack on something. All weapons are half ammo. All this stuff. And me and a friend and one of his friends, 3 of us, did that challenge. And when you're doing it multiplayer, you do get checkpoints if you do it in multiplayer. It's just if one person dies, everyone goes back to that checkpoint.
Oh.
Yeah, there's no respawning at all. Everyone goes back. It took us 6.5 hours. The sun was coming up.
I want to take one from the chat now because James says the most frustrating thing in games for him is games with game over screens or you fail screens. So I want to get clarification from James on that. What exactly do you mean by that? Because I mean, most games do have a form of a game over screen, but not like usually it's just a case of you die and it's like okay, retry or not. Normally, but it's like the older games. Like I think to this day Resident Evil still has game over or like no, it doesn't have it's like you died, which is the dramatic you died on there. But it always goes over to the game over, and I remember there was a lot of controversy. There's a lot of there was a bit of controversy when Prince of Persia came out in 2008, I believe it was, because it touted it had no game over screens. If you died, you would get saved by Elika, bypassing the whole retry scene. And there was a lot of controversy saying, "Oh, it's not a game then if you can't fail." And it's like, well,
for fuck's sake!
Yeah, there was. I remember this back then, and I really enjoyed Prince of Persia. Actually, it's I kind of regret they didn't, and I still maintain it's one of the reasons that game didn't get a sequel because of the backlash, because of the stupid backlash.
The idea that a game needs to have a failure state.
Well, it's not just that; it's the fact that all you're doing is removing the game over screen.
You're actually streamlining the experience.
You're streamlining the experience. All you're doing,
you still have the failure state. You just don't see it. You're getting back to your checkpoint.
Yeah. Let's see. You either get a game over screen, say retry, go back, or quit to the main menu, in which case you quit, or you go back to the last checkpoint and you begin back from that checkpoint, or you die and go immediately back to that checkpoint. What's the difference?
Yeah, exactly. It's just
it's
like pressed to that point.
Saying a game needs a failure state. Well, that brings up a dozen examples in my head. The first of which being the Impossible game.
Exactly.
It's called the Impossible game.
Stardew Valley.
It doesn't have a failure state. The only failure state in the Impossible game is you stopping playing it.
Stardew Valley, Animal Crossing. There are games that don't have failure states. There are just suboptimal plays and things that you can't do, which is negative the experience. But that's because those games understand what they are. And again, I have no problem if a game has a game over screen or doesn't have a game over screen. I don't like it when a game makes a big grandiose thing out of your game over. With a couple of exceptions, like for example, I love the Arkham series game over screens with the villain taunting you. That's a brilliant little thing. I like the fact you basically get more character from those villains, and they're such great characters.
I was just about to reply with that. When you have those great game overs, one is the Arkham games where you have those villains. It's so much in character that they're making fun of Batman, and you want to fail, you want to have the game over screen to hear another line from Joker, from Catwoman, from Bane.
I always remember hearing Mark Hamill's voice. Ooh, cute little Batsy's limping. Someone finish him off. You know.
The same thing is from a great stealth game series of this Goblin Styx Shard of Darkness, or Styx Deadly Shadows. No Deadly Shadows. That's Thief. There are two games about this Goblin. They're stealth games. And also, when you fail, he comes up just like the Arkham style and mocks you, just breaks fourth wall and mocks the player. Like, what are you using controller with your feet or something? Or like, I'm out of here. I'm gonna get laid while you are going to repeat this level over and over.
Yeah.
I think
those are a bit more harsh, but they are also
those little
fun.
bits of character to the game.
I think you just have to. I mean, those are great examples of game over scripts, but I think you have to be careful that it doesn't extend, because if you get, for example, with Cuphead, when you die, you see how far you got with the boss, and then you immediately retry, kind of thing. If you have, I think we've all had a game where we got this really hard boss, we get our faces kicked in by boss, and then you have to sit through the whole cutscene again. That you cannot skip.
That's skippable boss cutscenes are the worst.
And after a while, it starts to get ingrained in your head.
I'm looking at you, Square Enix. I'm looking at you, Square Enix.
And to the point where you actually start mimicking the boss, just like, I hate you so much. I hate you so much. I hate you.
Cutscenes that repeat, and you can't skip. Cutscenes that you can't skip are the worst. Even made exacerbated by when it is in a hard section where it's just going to repeat that entire or unskippable dialogue in general. Like if it's not a cutscene but it's in engine, it's so annoying.
Here's something similar to that also really bugs me is when the opening cinematic of a game can be skipped, but you can't skip the bit saying what company's made it.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for the follow, Rex Duralado 1. I appreciate it.
Awesome. This more recently has come to notice for me in Doom Eternal, where I load up the game.
Yeah, and you can't skip the Bethesda.
I have to wait whilst Bethesda and Machine Games and everything else goes through. It's software with this one.
Actually,
then the opening cutscene happens and I can skip that.
Yeah. Actually, I had quite a chuckle with this Bethesda logo, because for the entirety of Doom Eternal, that is the only part that had a frame drop for me. The Bethesda logo. That's very symptomatic.
It's crashed on that logo a couple of times for me.
Part of that, I do wonder if part of that is because the game is still loading. I know that some games do use that as like a little bit of buffer time to load in.
It might be because it was always doing that at the exact same moment. So it might be loading the same things in the exact same way. Though it might be like starting to load most of the textures or of the level design. That's very
probably
possible.
A reason for it. It just seems a little silly that they're basically advertising themselves in a way that you can't skip, and then the game itself starts, and you can skip that.
Yeah.
Oh hey, I have some actual hot off the press news. Cyberpunk 2077 is adding official modding support.
Ooh.
You mean it didn't support mods to begin with?
Yeah.
It might have allowed them, but now it's actual.
Yeah, there's actual modding tools.
No. I think this is a good thing. Actually, I don't think this is a good thing. Do you know why?
The cynical me is having the same idea as eBay right now.
Yeah, because now the developers are basically thinking, oh, the players will fix all our problems for us.
Oh yeah.
But also the me who remembers things is thinking the modding was horrible and unusable in Witcher 3 and Witcher 2. So people were doing the mods despite how bad that modding engine is. I'm feeling that for Cyberpunk 77, also the modding engine would not be really great to use.
Yeah, I'm also thinking this is probably a bad sign. Because I mean, to this day, there are bugs in Bethesda games that Bethesda has themselves not fixed, but the community has through unofficial patches. And it's like, oh, are you guys really going to expect the community? And if anything, I will be very glad if the community shows them up and says, "Here, look, we fixed your fucking game for you."
Yes.
On the other hand, I know personally a lot of people who play Cyberpunk 2077 don't really care about what the state technically this game is, but love how the world looks like, what you can do in the world, what kind of scenarios you can have there. And a lot of people would like to just create their own scenarios, their own side quests. And then they might have really good fun with that.
Yeah.
Not fixing the game for the developer, but sort of making their own DLCs.
No, I agree. That would be a good thing. I don't think modding in general is a bad thing. It's just the kind of almost
modding can exponentially increase the life of a game.
Yeah.
The only problem with it now is publishers can see the modding community as a free patch.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, the thing is, I'm gonna play, I guess, the Angel's advocate here, but people are gonna mod a game, like, regardless of what you do, to be honest, because I know that Mass Effect 3, the old version, is an absolute bitch to mod. I know people but the people mod the game. People have the tools and they're constantly updating them, and I've seen absolutely cracking mods that have harvested like old data mined dialogue that's just not in the game and just plumbed it back in, kind of thing.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what game you have or what encryption you put on your game's files. People will find a way to break them and do what they want with them.
Yeah, and what I'm sorry, but can I just
carry on?
I was just going to say, at least they're sort of facilitating it in a sort of reason. I think at least that is a point in its favor. I know I'm clutching at the straws here, but I just think it's a good thing to sort of see that, okay, you're going to mod our games anyway, so here you go.
Yeah, that's good. I do like that. Rather than the Bethesda thing of like, okay, you're going to mod our games, how much can you charge for your mods?
Yes.
Oh god, I hate that.
That's a horrible approach.
That's a horrible approach. The one thing I will point out to is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2.
Yes.
How that game basically is just you can play at base, but if you want a good experience, download the kind of the fan mod expansion for that game, which restores a lot of content and deleted scenes and such. Really interesting mod.
It's like one other very, very popular game is Vampire the Masquerade
Bloodlines.
I
was just going to say.
Unplayable in its current state. You need mods to actually get it to work.
And this actually reminded me of news that I saw recently, which came from January 15th this year. Star Wars Empire at War gets big patch 15 years after its original release.
Wow.
Which one is that?
So it's a Star Wars RTS game, Empire at War, a game I very much like, has a big modding community.
Oh, is that the one? I think I know what you mean now, yeah.
Yeah, I actually streamed it, I think, once on the channel. A really fun game. Great game if you're a big Star Wars fan, especially if you're an RTS fan. The original developers went back, installed some, and patched some problems in the game. However, get this, they patched it after discussing with the community about what should be patched.
Yo! No!
Not just that, they also remove things like build queue limitations. So basically, mods can have more... can basically have more build queues and mess with the UI. They basically put extra features in there and remove restrictions to make it easier for mods these days to be made and to be bigger.
That's how you treat a community.
That's how you treat a community.
But that might be because for those 15 years, this game has been kept alive by bajillions of different modes.
Yeah.
Some of which are even better than the basic game.
Oh, yes. But the thing is, that's the thing. They didn't have to go back and do this. They didn't have to. But they did. And they've now made it easier for people to make mods and more accessible for those mod creators. So like, okay, so the issue was that you guys couldn't put enough stuff in build queues because you guys are made the mod so large that you now need loads of slots in build queues. Fine, we'll remove the limiter from the build queues.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Job's
That
done.
that is a wonderful pro-consumer promoter approach.
Aha, exactly. So
Yes.
yeah, if you do want to try out some good mods, go and check out Eckhart's Ladders mods on Empire at War. There's pretty much
Oh, yeah.
any Star Wars mod you can imagine is there for it. Yeah, and also I think they restored a lot of cut content from it as well. So there's a big old patch list. Like there's a lot more that you would expect from a patch, especially when you consider the patch that was previously released was when was the previous patch prior? So before the patch in 2021, the last patch was in 2018. So there you go.
Not
Not,
bad.
not that long ago in the great scale of things.
Well, I think that pretty much exhausts our topics for this week. We do have some more topics that we can talk about next time, but of course it's getting late here. It's now 10:15 here in the UK. So myself, Shadow, and Lemming probably will be thinking about getting some good, well-and-trued West. And for Burry, I think it's, 1 a.m. for you?
No, not yet. It's 11.
Oh, yet.
Not yet, being the optimum.
Not yet being the optimum word. So yes, we'll be doing this podcast on a semi-regular basis, probably about once a month. We're not sure if there's going to be a set schedule. We might do it like the last Tuesday in the month, in which case the next one will be the 23rd, but we're not sure about that. So if you want to basically keep me alert whenever we're going to go live, I will post alerts on my own Twitch page, which I'm just going to post in my own chat right here for the socials. You can also go follow these guys. Burr, where can you be found at?
Well, I'm not streaming, although I'm thinking about it every day. And so far, I've lost the battle and not streaming yet. But you can add me at every ber at Twitter. So once I decide I'm streaming, I'll be informing everyone all around about this. But basically, for now, I'm just here for fun.
Lemming?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch at Lemming Russ, like Russ as in like Russell, but 2 S's. And I will be live 4 days a week: Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. It was going to be Wednesday, but I see family then, so that's kind of put that at the side for a while. But I stream 2 times a day on those 4 days, and I stream a plethora of games, from real-time strategies to shooters to whatever I feel like at the time. So hopefully you'll join me then.
And Shadow, where can you be found?
I can be found mostly on Twitter under at Shadow Phoenix R1. I'll put that in the chat. I can be found in other places. I'm being gently encouraged to start streaming, but I've not given in yet. But I can occasionally on the Tuesdays I can be found roaming Weird and Ebax chat occasionally, Riches and Lemmings. But you'll mostly find me on Tuesdays if and when we do Star Wars Squadrons as co-leader along with the lovely Ebac himself. And I will also be joining Burr and Lemming and Doctor and a whole host of crazy zany characters.
Yes.
And you can watch us do the thing, and maybe I will crash into another Star Destroyer. Who knows?
Yeah, the whole ragtag band of misfits.
Yes, myself, Lemming, and Shadow will be kind of regular fixtures here on the Common Dense podcast. And you got to, however, our fourth slot will be filled by either Burr or by Doctor, who's in the chat, who's in my chat. He'll be joining us next time, or by another member if there's someone else who wants to also come along for a one-time gig. We'll find out, but mostly it'll be those two joining us, as you'll be our Crendors, I guess, is if the comparison holds true. Going forward.
Continued comparison to the co-optional podcast.
Well, I'm just here for your diversity quota, so don't mind me.
Oh no, you fell out. You have quite a lot of interesting opinions, and and if there is a topic you guys want us to cover as well, be sure to let us know. We'll try and keep it. We want to try and keep it kind of very casual, and so we don't cover every gaming topic. We just cover whatever we think is interesting to us. As But if you have anything you want us to look at, we'll definitely give it a look at. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, with that, I think it's time we called it a night and got some rest. So, my name has been
No.
Eback, here at the Scratching Post, we scratch that gaming itch, joined here by Burr, Lemming Russ, and of course Shadow there at the end. And we'll see you all next time. And for now, I'm actually going to shove us over because I believe who is streaming right now. Let's see if we can find someone to raid. Who
Let's
is...
not raid Lemming, otherwise we're back.
Yeah, let's raid Lemming. Lemming's live. Let's raid Lemming.
Yay!
Scarf is streaming.
I was about to say,
Yeah,
Scarf is currently streaming Pillars of the Eternity. Shall we go and raid him?
Yes.
Yes.
Shall we raid him with like catch like easy difficulty or something like that?
I don't know.
GG.
Thonk.
Thonk, yes.
Thonk.
Yes, we'll do it with Thonk. So what we'll do is I'll start the raid off now. We're gonna raid Scarf. There we go. Hope that actually worked. Yeah, there we go. So we're gonna raid Scarf, and the raid phrase will simply be Thonk, all in capitals. So I'm gonna post it there in the chat. Thonk.
Yeah.
And we'll see you all over there.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Go.
Bye bye, everyone.
Good night.
See you next time.